The magic of Doctor Who is nothing is what it appears to be. The police box is not a police box. The Doctor is not an old human being. Susan is not a school child. Running through Doctor Who is the thing is, look at life. There's more to life than you think. Life is not straightforward. To get the most out of life, you need to dig a bit deeper. So I think that's part of the magic of it.
Yes, it's time for Type 40 Live, your live stream Doctor Who show, materializing again here on the Spacebook channel. Whatever time stream or time zone that you're joining us from, welcome back. Yes, this is Type 40 Live, hitting your screens in real time for content and conversation here on YouTube and Facebook and across all major podcatchers too. Crucially, in front of a live chat full of friends, fans, and companions just like you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. And whoever you are, we're going to find out in a couple of minutes. Thanks for being here back in the console room with me. So yes, this is the drill. In case it's your first time, particularly if you're over on Facebook, we're live streaming this to Facebook and YouTube as always. But if you are on Facebook, you'll notice that little blue link. You've got to click that, and that will tell Facebook who you are. Facebook tells StreamYard, and StreamYard tells us here in the Type 40 console room, and we all get on first name terms for this long conversation, this big geek out over the next couple of hours here through everything Whoniverse, before, during, and after. Can't wait to get started. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Okay, now, yes, it's not just me. You'll be pleased to learn, because for talking about the world's longest running and best loved science fiction series, it needs an entire Whoniverse, or at least delegates from it, doesn't it, to bring in and to compare notes about what we love about this show so much and what we're looking forward to. It's an entire universe, and I suppose when we're younger, we either watch it, don't we, from on the sofa or behind it, well, maybe even under it. I don't know. But this is how we compare notes about the show, isn't it? Our experiences from then to now. And not only that, this is where the worlds of Doctor Who meets good old-fashioned British common sense too. So lots to get into, lots to get started on. It's been a few weeks since we last connected. There's been lots revealed, lots announced, and lots happening that hasn't been announced, but people are out there, aren't they, taking photographs. It's the 21st century. They can't keep anything under wraps too much, can they? But yeah, here we are with our Type 40 Live Doctor Who annual for 2023. Yes, we're right back to the start, going into the future, unwrapped, unclipped, perfect bound, and spot varnished here and there. We may show you where later. But yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about the whats, the wheres, and the whys. We'll get into it all, I promise. Let's bring on the panel. I'm delighted to welcome my friends and companions back to the show. First of all, the original Lunatic, dressed for the occasion, just like Eric Roberts. Or actually, it could be from a story from a lot earlier than that. It's my mate Simon.
Well, hello everybody. It's wonderful to be back. Yeah, we're back. Did you miss us? Yeah, I'm in my I'm dressed in my Planet of the Daleks Spyrodon outfit tonight. It's a lovely fetching purple, made of fun fur because it's lovely and cozy. So yeah, I'm dressed as a Spyrodon this evening, west of the Spyrodon. That's me.
As long as you've not become a furry, have you? That's since we last spoke to you. I certainly hope not. Yeah, this is going to be very exciting, Simon, because we've never done this before. This is a big, chunky Doctor Who annual as we're going into the 60th anniversary year. I know.
All very, very exciting. It's great to be back. It's weeks since we did this. That so much has happened since then. It's so exciting to be back. Hello, everybody. Brilliant to be here.
And yeah, it's not just us. We're bringing back our friend Charlotte Shields is here again too. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello, everybody. No, it's so nice to be back.
It's exciting, isn't it? It just all feels like a fresh start. It's brilliant.
It does.
Yeah,
I mean, we've spoken between one another, haven't we? We've spoken here and there in little extra videos and had conversations and things like that. So we kind of know what there.
We sort of know.
We know what one another thinks up to a point, but it's not. There's nothing like getting together with a big bunch of fans and tipping it all open on the floor and figuring out what we all make of it. Is the Charlotte?
Yeah, and also being able to go like, oh, you like that or what? Or having a proper discussion, like you said.
Yeah, we're either right there on our hands and knees on the floor, or we are up high taking an aerial view. I think there's no better place to do that from than the Doctor Who loft, and no better person better placed to survey all underneath him. It's him. He's back. The one, the only, the ever illustrious Mr. JT.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, I'm just counting my 12th Doctors. For a terrible, frightening second, I thought I'd missed one, but I haven't. They're all there. I'm sure they're all there. Yes, they're all there. So I'm all right.
So you've had a break. You've had the last few weeks. You've been dusting the Doctor Who loft.
No. If you can see what I could see, the place is an absolute mess because I'm rearranging again. And I found, even though I moved into my house about 6 years ago, I found more Doctor Who stuff through on the other side of the house in boxes still. So I've been trying to. Oh God, here we go. I'm gonna have to dig all that out. So it's been interesting over the last few weeks.
Well, you could view that as gifts from an earlier incarnation of yourself, couldn't you?
Yes, I could, but I'm not that sad.
I think that makes perfect sense. Did you have a good Christmas, JT?
I can't remember.
So that means yes.
Well, I hope.
Oh, Charlotte, you know.
I know you.
Who's that?
Better than his.
Doesn't he look tired?
Yes. Talking about looking tired, we better bring him on before he falls asleep. I'm glad to say that he's back too. It's the writer, director, and big old mega geek, Ian David Diaz, back at Type 40.
Peace. Love.
Oh, very deep, very deep. We've all been geeky and exciting. You're cool.
Good to see you, Ian. Welcome back to Type 40 Live.
I'm back. Everybody's back, actually. That's quite cool, isn't it? I guess. So, yeah.
We're all back in town.
Yeah.
Yes, and
we're all back.
Here we are, Ian, at last. We've been talking about it, it seems like, since we began this journey, actually. We've been talking about the 60th anniversary, and we're here at last. Doctor Who, 60 years, resplendent with its new diamond logo. We had 2 new logos towards the end of last year, didn't we? And it's looking, I don't know, it looks well pointed, doesn't it? It's a beautiful shade or 2 of blue. I do love blue. And I think that realistically, things are looking as better, if not the best they could possibly look at this precise moment in time. Who'd have thought that everything would be looking relatively healthy, JT? I noticed that you're wearing that very logo.
Superman pose.
Thank you.
JT is on brand. That means he's back on board. And is that spoiler? Could be a spoiler coming up there.
Could be a spoiler coming up. Yeah, never assume.
Let's go and check out the live chat because it's not just us back. You're back too. Well, if they say you're back, there's lots of old faces, lots of regulars, and plenty of new names too. So thanks for being here, everybody. Let's see who's here. We have Lord Thoth here. He's back to survey all.
First in the chat again.
Here,
Hello,
mate.
Lord Thoth.
There he is. Cliff Maxwell's here with a cheers, y'all.
Lord Thoth didn't leave from the last season.
He's just been hanging around.
He's just
been there the whole
staying
time.
you darling. Yes.
Ahoy, shipmates, says Crimpling Doubloon.
Ahoy.
And hey there, everyone, from Sam. That's nice to see. And Scottish Davros is here too. He's rolled in. Scottish Davros and friends wrestle with pop culture, says that's Daniel. Daniel Leach says
Daniel in his
Thursday.
lycra.
And you know what that means. It's time for the Spacebook. Hello, Dan, Charlotte, and the gang. Hello, Daniel. Good to see you.
We've been renegated as the gang.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow. It is lycra, I think.
Is he in his lycra tomorrow on a Friday for the glitzy wrestling matches over the weekend?
If we're the gang, are we kind of like the double deckers? Is that what we are?
Probably.
Double deckers.
Probably. Yeah.
We've got a good evening all from Peter Harrington and a hi
peace.
everyone from Kelly too.
Mm.
A Primord infectant.
Oh, I like that one.
Haven't you got any cream for that yet, Primord?
No. I use that around the rim of the toilet.
It's hey everyone, and we have a hey all from Vanessa Law.
Hello, Vanessa.
Hello, Vanessa.
It's great to see all these
TARDIS.
people back, and it's great to see new names as well out there.
TARDIS Spiders here from the Gulf Coast. As always, it's good to see you, TS. And Simon Ashley's here. Good evening, one and all.
So I can see the
Retro
screen.
Doc, he's on board as well with a hello, everyone. And we've got the greetings and felicitations from Darren M. Do we know what M stands for?
Maltesers.
It's as good a name as any, Darren. Yeah, Darren Maltesers. I like it. So yes, keep the comments coming, keep the welcomes coming, keep all the Happy New Year's coming too. I don't think that's getting old just yet. I think we can still go with that.
It's still
No, you
January, isn't it? Come on.
Just about.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Richard Brooks says, yay, Type 40 live again. Excellent. Oh, happy punters.
We're not
Excellent.
live, are we? Nobody told me we were live. We're live.
No, we're not. We're not. Don't worry about it. It's not live.
No.
We're okay.
We
We did this last June.
Fine.
Yeah, this is a pre-record from the middle of last year. Yes, so keep them coming. We'll be back. We'll be connecting with the live chat at various points throughout the show, as always, as we dig into this. But yeah, the idea behind this particular show is a little bit of a stopping of the clock, really. We've been doing this for quite a long time now. And we've noticed that as the subscribers and the audience, as that sort of grown, now and again, we have people coming into the live chat and asking us some of the most basic questions that you tend to ask every Doctor Who fan. And I think for a time, JT, we could say, oh, we've already answered that question. Go back and look at show, whatever it was, X, Y, or Z. But now there's been so many of them, it's probably a good time to give people some of the answers to the questions that they may not have been around for. So
We can't remember the answers the first time round.
Yeah, obviously you know who they are, but who are we?
Oh,
So yes,
I'm still trying to work that one out.
yeah, we have been at this for quite a long time, and I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing or people I'd rather be doing it with, come to think of it, this anniversary year. And speaking for all the contributors for a moment, if I may, we're really grateful for everybody that's invested their time with Type 40 over the last couple of years. And whether you're returning to the console room here or it's your first show with us, it's all grown so much. And yeah, thank you. We're going to bring it again this year. And I thought we could talk for a little about how this all came about and who we are. So this is a kind of a who's who of the Type 40 live crew.
So, unfortunate picture you picked there, Dan.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Well, she looks like she needs a bit of a wash, Louise, there. But she's been successful and she's reached her goal and she's about to get stuck into that big book there. So this is the idea.
Makeup test, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. There's the photographic evidence.
Yes. So
Weird.
before we get into Doctor Who itself, we're going to be checking the past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who, if not necessarily in that order. I thought this would be a good chance for us to reintroduce ourselves as we have the countdown to the 60th anniversary itself. I mean, for example, I'm Dan Hadley. I'm a graphic designer and a consulting creative and Doctor Who podcaster from the West Midlands. I was born in the 70s, but made very much in the 80s. And watching an episode of Doctor Who, it was one of my very first memories, as I'm sure I've probably said on the show before. And eventually I worked it out that it was the Pyramids of Mars, episode 3, everybody. And whilst my fandom has now and again taken a bit of a back seat compared to sort of other things going on in my life, sort of like raising children or working and lecturing and all the rest of it, my bond, my obsession with the show has sort of regenerated itself time and time again, really. And this latest phase is very much represented by Type 40. This is something that I co-founded with my friends Kyle and Norman back in 2018 for the Fandom Podcast Network. It's sort of become this brand of its own, really. And I thought that if I'm talking and reflecting back on my own fandom, I came up with this one image, rustling through the files here, Simon, and one image which I feel that says quite a lot about my Doctor Who fandom. And it's this. This isn't quite back where it all started, but it's where it all started to connect. So this is my original off-air recording of the 5 Doctors from all the way back in 1983 on VHS. So I'd saved my own money for this tape. I think they're about £8 back then, blank videotapes. And I scribbled the labels there. I coloured them in, did a little bit of branding, and created my own sort of naming convention there, my own numbering. I labelled this one Who Won. The idea being that I would assemble a library of Doctor Who on VHS there, and it's in one of those library cases as well. The sort of the mock-up book boxes. Do you remember those, Simon?
I do. I remember those very well. And we all did it, Dan. I mean, I can certainly remember making labels like that with the logo on and taking great care and attention out of it. And it's fabulous, isn't it? You've even got that little sticker there that used to show you supposedly roughly how much time was left on the tape.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, happy days. I can tell though, Dan, I can see by looking at it, that's a cheap tape. I can see that's a
Believe it or not, it was a BASF one. This
was it?
It was a BASF tape. Yeah, and but that is a Scotch label that I've whacked on. Then that's an SKC label from something else. So there are labels from various other tapes that I put in, and this tape now, 40 years on, still plays perfectly. It plays so much better than many of the sell-through tapes, because I've got all my official releases too. But this one, the picture never flickers. It's absolutely perfect, despite the fact that I must have watched this, God, hundreds of times. But the way I look at it, JT, is that this is not just says a lot about my connection to Doctor Who, and when the obsession really bit hard. But obviously, with my line of work too, this is where I decided to brand these off-air recordings and give them their own little look. And I've got the BBC logo and everything there. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. And as Simon says, most of us did all that sort of stuff. I remember Dwaz, you could send off to get covers, to put into these slip cases and stuff like that. And, I would print them off and spend ages printing them off at my auntie's workplace in different coloured paper. How naughty, and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, the VHS played for a certain generation. They played an important part. I've got all the ones I taped off the telly right up there, right up to Survival. Yeah.
Have you still got? You've still got them?
Yes. Yeah. I've still got them.
So I recorded
no machine to play them on, probably. No
machine to play them on. I wouldn't want to now anyway. We've got sparkly Blu-ray now, haven't you? So
but don't you find some of the pleasure to me in watching those old VHSs is the intros and the outros, where you'll catch a little bit of the last program if you set it on timer, and you'll get 5 minutes of El Dorado before it or something like that, and a couple of trailers. That's gold dust to me, I think, because that takes you right back to the actual recording.
I've got one that's really quite historic. The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. One of the episodes went out when the plane fell over Lockerbie.
Oh,
and what came up in that particular episode of The Greatest Show was the old teletext news item.
Wow.
So that's a little bit of history, really. So that's that I've got that captured live on the show.
And it's interesting, JT. I wish to goodness I'd got my original copy of the Five Doctors, the recording, because I don't know whether anybody else got it. It was just in the Midlands region. But again, talking of teletext, there was the little ticker tape thing that went across the bottom of the screen, telling you to what number to phone to make a donation.
We didn't get that. That wasn't allowed. They took all that off. We just got the full 90 minutes. Really, I've got the beginning of it with Wogan and Davison and all that sort of stuff, and a little bit after it. So yeah, I didn't realize that some of the regions kept
it was bizarre because it just had this several times through the episode. You just got this little scroll across the bottom saying "call this number." That's all it said. And I was sitting there as a 15-year-old or whatever, thinking, why have I got to call this number? If I call the number, am I going to get extra Doctor Who or something? Is it going to explain the plots to me? Why am I calling this number? Didn't make clear that you were phoning to make a donation.
Pay us for watching this show, even though you have done already.
Perhaps if you found the number, Tom Baker was there. He wasn't in the show, but he was answering the phones instead. Yeah, I wondered about that too. But when that story came out on VHS and those numbers weren't there, it didn't seem right. It didn't seem right to me. But yeah, that's where my fandom really kicked in. I've been watching the shows literally since I was old enough to open my eyes, it seemed. But the fandom, for me, that obsession really bit hard during the Davison era. And continued on until I met you, Simon, in the late 80s, when I first met you in Warsaw, and you were in the middle of a massive part of a formative part of your life, weren't you? And that connects with this picture. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself, and then I'll cue in the picture, and you can explain this.
Okay, then. Well, to go right back to the beginning, I was born just a couple of days after Fury from the Deep episode 6. So you can sort of go and do your sums from there and work out how old I am. Certainly old enough to know better. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm desperate to see Fury from the Deep, because it finished just before I was born. And then the Wheel in Space started. But anyway, my earliest Doctor Who memory goes back to 1972 with the Demons. 71, I think it's 71 or 72 when the Demons. I'm not sure whether I saw the original transmission of the Demons or whether I caught the repeat. So I think the original transmission went out 71 and then the repeat was 72. Still not certain, but I've got very, very clear memories of Bok from the Demons. And it just absolutely terrified me as a kid, to the extent where my parents literally turned off the television, because I can still remember just screaming the place down at Bok. And my brother was furious because he wanted to watch Doctor Who, and it got turned off because of me. And that undoubtedly is where my love of Doctor Who spawned from. I can be that precise. I can even remember it was the end of episode 2 when Bok comes running down the tunnel and starts screaming at the Doctor and Joe, and that's the point. Undoubtedly, they fell in love with Doctor Who. Spin forward then to 1988, which is what I think you're talking about, Dan. Well, 87, I set up a group called the West Midlands Lunatics. There I am, looking about baby 12. Simon. Looking about 12. Started that in 1987. And that photo there is taken probably, I would say, around about 88, 89, by which point we got quite big meetings. We were getting sort of 50 people at a time. I don't know whether you remember, Dan, we used to meet, and you can see it there, we used to meet down in a basement.
It was so dark, that room.
It's locked off now. You can't use it anymore because health and safety. We were literally down in the basement under a pub, and there was one way in and one way out. So in the case of a fire, we were all stuffed. And we used to sit down there, and we definitely didn't watch any pirate Doctor Who episodes on VHS. We definitely never, ever watched pirate episodes on Doctor Who, did we, Dan?
The very idea. No,
we didn't do that. We just sat around and we talked and we played games and stuff like that. But they were very, very happy days. And I ran that group for around about 4 years, and it became national and then ultimately international. And we've still got a Facebook page, people. It's still called The Lunatics. It was called The Lunatics then. It's still out there on Facebook. I'm still running it, but it's very different now. But I miss those days of fandom when we were in the wilderness years at this point, Dan, actually, when we were running the group.
Yes,
and in many ways, the wilderness years were in some way the best years for Doctor Who, because it made us all be so much more creative. We had to make our own Doctor Who stuff. We had to write our own fiction. We had to do our own magazines, which is what I did, because there was no Doctor Who out there, and we all missed it so badly. And so in many ways, they were the happiest days for me, oddly, those wilderness years after the show ended.
They were great days. And I used to go to 2 or 3 Doctor Who clubs at the time. And gradually, you sort of compared them. And I couldn't go to every single meeting of every single club, but most of them lasted to, say, 2 or 3 hours, something like that. But yours lasted all day.
Oh, yeah, my video. Oh, they went on and on and on. Obviously, with no episodes being screened. I don't know how we filled the time. How could we fill the time? But we did. Somehow we filled the time. And I remember at Christmas, we used to just have the maddest Christmas meetings where we'd get people to make plasticine Daleks and give prizes out. It was quite anarchic stuff. I think we were kind of informed by Tiswas in many ways, and we were ahead of our time. We were before the big breakfast, but it was that kind of anarchic.
So much so that you did rope in a Tiswas regular to your hijinks once or twice. I think that this was
absolutely. Look at that, my Gideons. That is taken in 1988 at Pebble Mill, BBC Pebble Mill, in 1988, in the 25th anniversary year. And we were invited on because by that point, the group had grown in size. We were actually phoned up by BBC Pebble Mill and invited on for this special episode with Sylvester and Sophie, and John Pertwee was also there. And that is in the green room after the show. And
wonderful
again, there I am looking about 12 years old. But happy days, happy days.
Spinning
and we were on
forwards,
television, and the clip is out there. Listen, folks, if you want to see the clip that goes with that, go and look for, what was the programme called? It wasn't Pebble Mill at 1 by then.
It was called Daytime Live, because I was watching it at home at the time when it was on. I recorded it, but yeah, it's up on YouTube. In fact, I've been meaning to do a commentary of that clip with you. We'll have to do it. We'll have to do it this year at some point. But I want to spin forwards in time a little now and ask Charlotte Shields about her fandom, about where you started with this, and what Doctor Who means to you and why.
Well, I was born in 94, so I was part of the generation where Doctor Who wasn't really a presence if you weren't already knowing of it, if that made sense. It had been and it had gone, and there was no luck for it to come back. And I can remember starting to see the little trailers, like with the TARDIS, and being, okay, that's a bit odd. And then once we started to get the proper trailers, I can just remember being really intrigued. And that's when I proper started to just think, okay, it's a show, I'm guessing, something's coming back. And then the press started to talk about it. So I was like, oh, so this is an old show.
Right.
Like, this was no knowledge whatsoever for me. Like I said, I was that generation. And then I remember going to my dad and being like, what's Doctor Who? Like, honestly asking that question, being completely no knowledge. And he told me about it because he watched it when he was a kid. And he like gave me a really basic, it's got aliens and there's time travel and it's like adventures. But I'll always remember he finished that whole speech sort of talking to me saying, I really think you should give it a go. I really think you're going to like this. And I remember that first episode, we all sat in the lounge on Saturday. My dad, me, my younger brother and my mum, who sort of just frowned at it and didn't understand, but just sat there because the rest of us were watching. And then after watching Rose, I was just like, I'm going to give this show a go because it was intriguing. And I think the moment that really got me in Rose, there was a couple, but the one that really stuck with me is when she first goes into the TARDIS. Because I remember my dad not even fully telling me what a TARDIS was before. I think he just said, there's a time machine. And I started to click, that's what the thing is then, this police box I'm seeing in the advert. And I just remember that shot of her going in and her shock and her awe. And that was me, especially because I was a lot younger. I was a kid. And I remember just seeing that and just being like, oh, wow, okay, like this, I'm not going to see this anywhere else. This sort of idea of going anywhere, having this machine, and then having this sort of mysterious figure of the Doctor. And sort of that was the other big thing that got me into this show.
So you were exactly the kind of person that they had in their sights when they wanted to bring this show back and restart it and grow a new audience, weren't you?
Yeah, I think they knew that they needed to have a bit of mystery, have enough context and information to get you interested. But I said this before, I liked the approach they did when the Doctor just appeared. And I think that helped me, honestly, that there wasn't a lot of baggage. There wasn't a lot of stuff I had to try and understand. I was just, okay, there's this weird northern bloke. Okay, he's clever, he's an alien. And then when Rose sort of got swept up, that's how you felt. And that's how I can remember feeling.
I suppose
after
part of the trick
Rose-
is that this isn't just a show. This is my show. This isn't something that's been running for years and years. This is my show now. I can connect with this. I can go into that world for 45 minutes every Saturday, and I mean, you couldn't have possibly have known you'd be here for hours.
Oh no,
talking about it all these years later with the likes of us. But it's an exciting adventure nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think it was. I can get connected. I think if anybody knows me, any sort of show or character, I start to see them almost as people. I'm a bit sad like that. And the Doctor just became like, I feel like I know the Doctor and he's a friend because I just got so connected and so synced with him. And that's why the character means so much and why I can pretty much forgive a lot of stuff, but I can't forgive a Doctor if they're written badly or done badly. Because I think, like I said, Christopher Eccleston, even though he's not my favourite, he definitely got that impression on me of, I want to know more about this character.
And it's now part of your daily life as well. So you've sent this picture. So what's this and where are we?
This is my room with an iPad, folks. This is a surprise gift I got about 2 years ago from my sister at Christmas. I had no idea I was getting it. So it's a wooden jewelry box. So the lid comes off and there's like space inside. And I had no idea I was getting it. And she even said, like, I wanted to get you something Doctor Who, and I didn't quite know what. And I searched and I found this. And I love the fact that it's a TARDIS and it's not a normal TARDIS in a sense. It's a bit more, like, it's a bit bigger, it's wooden, it's not like a little toy. But like I said, it made me think of my sister. Then I thought of my dad. So I've got a big family link, I think, with this show. And when you said to me in the message, think of present, for me, the TARDIS is this idea of unexpectedness, of just going through those doors and anything could happen. And if you would have told me 3 years ago, not even that long ago probably, that you're going to be on YouTube talking about this show, you're going to be part of a team, you're going to make amazing friendships of everybody I have on the panel, and Sarah and Chart and Barnaby and Daniel and so many other names I could say. So that idea of just unexpectedness, I think that's why what I got thinking. I was like, no, TARDIS is really good for me actually, because like I said, so many things have just happened in this fandom that I never would have dreamed of, and they've happened to me. So that's also why I wanted to have a TARDIS.
It's funny, isn't it? Because as much as we talk about merchandise and things that are mass produced, and remember going to the bookshop and seeing Target books all lined up, it's these little things, these either bespoke things or little thoughts that other people have of us and gift us these things. They, in time, they become the things, I suppose, that matter the most, don't they? It's a combination of those two things, I think, JT, that make us Doctor Who fans. I mean, you're there in the Doctor Who loft there, surrounded by an enviable collection stretching throughout the decades of this show. Where on earth could it possibly have all started for you?
W.H. Smith, I think. To be honest. Doctor Who was always around when we were growing up. And so it was sort of natural to watch it on a Saturday afternoon, on a Saturday evening back then, of course, every Saturday, you know, and I remember vividly the Maggots and that story there. I have very fond memories of the Brig. I sort of remember the Doctor as John Pertwee, but it really when Tom and Liz came into it, that's when my obsession with the show, if you like, I was there every Saturday. And I was there right through to the bitter end in '89. So, yeah.
It gets you like that, doesn't it? Some people have football, don't they? And they buy the scarf and hat and they trek out to the football ground every Saturday afternoon, either alone or with family or with friends, and they support their club through thick and thin. As Doctor Who fans, we kind of had a version of that, didn't we?
Well, absolutely. I mean, because Doctor Who was on a Saturday, I mean, it's very difficult unless you were there in the United Kingdom at that time as a kid. I mean, Doctor Who came after the grandstand and the football results, and you may have got a cartoon before, or Basil Brush, or the Pink Panther, or something. But you were so excited, and I remember always as a kid, if we were walking around Chester or Liverpool or Glasgow or wherever we were, always worried about the time. So it could be 12 o'clock and I'm asking if it was time to go home yet. What time is it? What time is it? 'Cause you had to be home for 4:30 in order to get your position in front of the television settled for 5:05. So very happy days. But it's those sense of Saturdays really, and nostalgia for the whole Saturday experience as a kid, and growing up with the show. So
can you remember, JT? I know I can remember this. You talk about the Saturday, and it's just reminded me as a kid and through into sort of early teenagedom, I just remember that kind of countdown to knowing when the next episode would air at, I don't know, 5:20, 5:45, 6 o'clock, whatever time it would be, shifted around. But I just remember the excitement building in me, knowing that the next episode was imminent. And as it got closer and closer to the transmission of the episode, I just remember just being physically, I can still remember now that physical excitement as your heart began to beat faster. I don't know whether it's the same with you, Charlotte, when you were watching more modern Who. And the reason I'm saying that is because in our day, as we've said before now, it was a once only. You caught that episode on transmission or you didn't catch it and it was gone forever. Whereas it's slightly different for when you were consuming Doctor Who.
I can remember that a bit with the early, Russell stuff, because iPlayer wasn't a thing, and it was just like
pumped up
on
for
Saturday.
7 o'clock on Saturday.
And I can remember that day because they did a proper countdown on the telly.
Yeah.
It was like 5 days to go, 4 days to go, 3 days to go. So they really what your feet. They tried to do that, Simon, very much with that Rose first transmission.
In the 70s, there wasn't anywhere near as much in the world around us was the JT. There wasn't the volume of merchandise. There certainly wasn't marketing in the way that there is now. But when you have a leading man like Tom Baker and imagery like this, so this you sent this to me. What are we looking at here, and when did you first see it?
Oh gosh, I can't remember where I first saw it. It was probably in one of the kids' magazines that are around, whether it was Looking or something like that. But these were adverts that were in magazines for the now infamous Dennis Fisher action figure range. And as you can see there, you've got the mainstays of that range, and K9 joined the year after. And these action figures were brilliant, actually, and they were the only sort of toy around at that time in the 70s. But it just, look at that. It just encapsulates for me that whole magic and golden era, which has never been recaptured, in my opinion, for Doctor Who.
Agreed.
And it was just like, you mentioned Tom there, the presence of Tom. He was and still is to this day Doctor Who. He is the Doctor, and his magnetism, and people were watching to see his adventures in time and space with his companion, and it says there, now you can join Leela and Doctor Who in their fantastic adventures, and you could, and we did every week for 26 weeks a year, which was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And the brilliant thing about it then is that you got a story, you got an actual story. And you would have the cliffhanger ending every week, and you were engrossed in that story, and it would take you over 4 or 6 weeks, whatever. And it was just magical time. And anything that came out which had Doctor Who on it, whether it be the Target books or some of the stuff you see behind me here from the 70s, it was just wow. You were. That's when I knew I was a fan of this show, although I didn't quite know the term at the time. But I knew I was a fan of the show at the time because if it had a logo on, I wanted it. I wanted to be part of that world. I wanted to see other people that were part of that world. It's a special time, and I still think it's the best time for any part of Doctor Who. That was it there, and that's why I wear this shirt as well, because that logo means so much to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's attached to a golden age for the show. It's attached to my childhood, and it's attached to storytelling and proper BBC productions, the like of which I don't think we're ever going to see again.
It's funny. I look at this advert, JT, and I see that even though this was the era of the diamond logo, where that emblem there was something that was there every Saturday in that unforgettable title sequence, burning itself into all our memories, and yet that logo is nowhere to be seen on this advert. But then again, when you have a figure, a leading man like Tom Baker in a role, in a career-defining, if not life-defining role like the Doctor, you don't really need a logo. He's your logo, isn't he?
Well, it absolutely is. But if you look at where we are today, they're going to need the logo. But
Yeah,
you can show anybody in the United Kingdom that there and say, who's that? And they'll go, that's Doctor Who. What a legacy. Thank you, Tom. Thank you,
Really?
Tom. And thank you to all the producers and everyone. Like, wonderful, happy days.
It's really funny because Leela's holding a knife and the Doctor's holding the sonic screwdriver.
Yeah.
Well, just like the TV show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You certainly wouldn't see the companion holding a knife today.
Exactly.
Oh,
No, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. I mean, you wouldn't see the companion in Leela's outfit today. Let's face it, which is terrible.
Sadly not. A gift given, especially Doctor Who, is a treasured thing, says Peter Harrington in the live chat on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was given a simple Who floppy pencil case from my brother on holiday in the late 80s, and I bet it's still treasured. Yeah, I can see exactly what I mean. I've got things like that too. I've got pencils that I had from the Doctor Who exhibition that I only went and used them, Simon. And sharpened them. I know.
How could you do it?
But I got about halfway through the word, so between the word Doctor and Who, and thought, no, I should have kept this. I shouldn't be using this, and I've kept it. I've kept it ever since.
I still remember having for Christmas the one year the chocolates, the Doctor Who chocolates that came in a sort of little box with the K9 and the Dalek and the TARDIS and the Cyberman in. I remember that's the one, JT. That's the one.
Oh my word!
And I ate them all. Oh, how could I do that?
I'll tell you something. This is empty because I ate them all as well.
Okay,
and
I feel better now.
I spent the whole of Boxing Day paying for it because it was the most vile chocolate ever, and it came back to me.
Awful. And
as I've said in the Essential Book of K9, the Cybermen really did have their revenge on me on Boxing Day because it was vile. My God.
It's really funny, JT, because I was bought it as a Christmas present, and so I felt that I had to eat it.
Yes, whatever.
You're right. It wasn't chocolate. It was brown candy, and it tasted awful. And I choked it down so that I could say I'd eat. Well, what I would give to have those originals back now.
I'll tell you something before we pass to Ian, because Ian's been very, very patient. But they also did a range of oval Christmas tree chocolates.
Yeah.
And this Christmas just gone, I threw them out. I had to throw them out because they've been in a bag, in a box for decades.
Oh.
And they were vile. And the foil was, I've kept a couple, but they were stuck together and they were vile. And that actually looked like something from a Yeti.
Could be a health risk. Ian, I once made myself terribly ill when I was on a road trip in 1983. By eating a lot of biscuits. There were multicolored biscuits, but they were themed to tie into the movie E.T.
All right.
So
okay.
I very much did the Simon there. Yeah.
Were they? Were they different coloured?
They were, yeah.
Yeah, I remember them.
But Ian, you're a big movie and TV fan, aren't you? But Doctor Who is just one of many things that you're into. But what are your earliest memories of the show? And what does it mean to you? Because here you are talking with us about it on the weekly.
Well, I feel like a fraud, actually, because all of you, you're so passionate about how you remember. The only thing I can remember, the reason why I got into Doctor Who is because I think it was my dad or my brother said that Doctor Who and the Daleks, the movie, was made when I was born, 1965. Try and work out how old I am. Anyway, so the only reason why I watched it is because they said, this film came out when you were born. So I watched the film and I really loved it. It was, I do believe it was Roy Castle.
Right.
And and Peter Cushing as the Doctor. And then from that point on, I was like, okay, well, that was great. Let me watch the TV show. And I was so disappointed when I watched the TV show because the effects were bad and obviously I whatever. And I kind of left Doctor Who. But then years later, I can't remember when I started watching the reruns, and the first stuff I started watching, I think I watched the Pertwee one and then I gave up, and then they started doing the reruns. And then when I started watching the Pertwee ones, I realized how brilliant it was, how brilliant John Pertwee was as the Doctor. And it was more than the effects, I mean, the effects were really terrible, but it was the story and it was what was happening and the friendship between Sarah and him. And, Joe, and right across the board, and stuff like that. So I believe I got into Doctor Who because of John Pertwee. I was only watching it for John Pertwee. I thought John Pertwee was absolutely brilliant as the Doctor.
Again, so it wasn't anybody. You didn't have the Charlotte experience.
No,
we've got Daniel in the chat here who says, "My uncle got me into Doctor Who." He said, "Support this show, Daniel. In years to come, you will have a wonderful connection." And he was right.
Oh, yeah,
but
brilliant.
I think a lot of our generation, because it was so ubiquitous, it was either always there or we found it rather than it found us, or somebody pushed us in its direction. Was that kind of how it was for you, like the figure of John Pertwee, the striding hero every Saturday?
It was, and then when John Pertwee died, I like that in those days. He died, and became Tom. I was really upset because I didn't want to watch this guy with curly hair. And then I left again. And then when I came back, I saw it again. And I was like, you know what? He's not too bad. And then I started watching it. And as I said, right, you kind of gravitate towards it because of the stories and because of how, I don't know how to explain it right. When they wrote stories for Doctor Who, you can tell the heart and soul was written into that writing. And they thought about how it would work with less money. And that's what I think that's the reason why people gravitated towards Doctor Who. It wasn't because of the effects. It wasn't because of the bad sets. It was because of the storytelling and the main guy that was playing the Doctor. And I think that's the reason why, because Tom was freaking excellent. And so was John, right? And even Peter, even though I didn't like a lot of Peter's ones, but I liked him because I loved the way he dressed, whatever. And then I kind of lost again with when they replaced Peter with Colin. And,
you sort of did.
I was up and down, yeah. But the one thing I could not get away with is the quality of the show. That's why I was so upset when, I saw, the movie, Doctor Who, the movie, and I was like, yes, they got it. The special effects are amazing. This wonderfully lit. Wow, they're going to go that way. And then we got Christopher Eccleston with the cheap effects, and I was like, oh, God, they've gone backwards. You know what I mean? So my love of Doctor Who has always been backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Do you know what I mean? But the thing I've never done is I've never abandoned Doctor Who, no matter what, right? Until
Until you did.
Says, well said.
So you got forced to.
Great storytelling with cast script and decent effects.
Yeah.
And for your image, we've got this because whilst I know you've got bits and pieces. I think you're probably the only person on the panel who's got his very own custom sonic device, aren't you?
There you go. Wow. There you go.
So who made this for you?
Somebody made it for me. I really can't say who made it for me, but
Mega
they
Driver.
made it for me. In fact, they made it for me because they saw me on this, and also he made me two. He made me two, right? He made me that one, and he made me this one, which I don't like because it's too big and thick. One sec, guys.
So this, I'm going to say, this has got a lovely sort of amber quality to it.
Fabulous! I want one of those. It's fantastic.
So this guy, he made me this one. Sorry, it's got a lot of dust on it.
Wow, look at that.
He
my
made me this.
goodness.
Yeah, hold on a sec. If I can bloody, because I've never opened this. A long time since.
Never.
No, I have opened it before, but
okay.
I haven't. Oh shit!
Not for a while.
Not for.
Not for a while.
Don't worry, we're not live. We'll edit this bit out.
Oh, well
Looks like it may work, says Cybermat Strikes.
So this guy made me this as well.
Oh wow!
It's kind of big though. You know what I mean?
You could use that in the kitchen.
Very, very cool. You could make an omelette with that. To be honest,
it's a whisk.
And he also
it reminds me of the mashed potato men from the 70s.
He also made me this. I don't know what this is though. I think it's you can see that. Oh, you can't see it, can you?
Is it
like a Jamie Dodger?
Is it?
Oh
is
yeah. That's Gallifreyan writing. It's Gallifreyan text.
It looks like a display base, Ian, where you can prop it up and display the thing.
And at the back, it's got translation to the Mega Geek with love. Enjoy,
no way!
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so he made me two. He made me that one, and he made me this one, which is quite cool. But
very good.
I do like this one, but it's just too big. It's just too clumsy.
Yeah, but it's still very cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Actually.
What a
wonderful thing to have.
People love me. What can I say?
Yeah, so that's in a nutshell. That is us. That's us and our connection with Doctor Who there. It's a little bit of a frequently asked questions. And of course, what brought us all together, and with you guys in the live chat too, is our love of the show. That's the connection that we all made then, and is very much alive and kicking now. And that's what why we do all of this, all for the love of Doctor Who, and due in no small part, I think, for most of us, to everything that Tom Baker did. Tom Baker had a birthday last week. He turned 89 years old. One more away from yet another big birthday for Tom. So a belated happy birthday to Tom Baker, as always. I think he's still recording for Big Finish. He's still signing things now and again. And who knows? I think he might crop up at some point in the anniversary celebrations. I don't know. There are rumours. But then again, there are always rumours about everybody and everything, aren't there, Ian?
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm looking forward to it, actually, to tell you the truth. Fingers crossed and all that. It's going to be good. So there you go.
Get stuck in to the anniversary later on in the show. But this is the point where I remind you that Type 40 Live is one of a set of shows here on the Spacebook channel and out there across the podcatchers. So you might want to go and check out the latest Type 40 videos here on the channel. Okay, there's our interview with the fan favourite Doctor Who artist, Stephen, Colin Howard. That's just dropped, episode 121 of the Type 40 podcast. Simon and myself, we got stuck in to Colin's portfolio. He's just launched his art book, the art book that he thought would never happen, Time Slides, currently available from Candy Jar Books. We got a good hour and a half with Colin Howard, went through all those days, all those pieces of art that we saw on all those ranges, mostly in the 90s, wasn't it? But you'd be amazed the things that Colin has done in his career. A great many of them involve Doctor Who, so that's great too. And that was my little video diary there on the possible return of Jamie McCrimmon. That's if actor Fraser Hines has got anything to say about it. No idea whether that's going to happen or not, but I do get into it on that video. That's exclusive to the Spacebook channel. You can find it in the playlists here. I know
it's a shame, really, because I think he deserves to come back. I think he deserves one shot. He's been so loyal to the Doctor Who thing, isn't he? And it's like he's been ignored all this time. It's just really annoying. Even when they had that crappy Jodie thing, they could have easily shoved him in there somewhere, couldn't they?
Couldn't he had his mind wiped, and he's a Highlander, he's dead.
Doesn't matter.
He's been dead. Donna also had her mind wiped, but she's back.
Yes,
he's been dead for over a century, for crying out loud.
No, I'm with Ian.
He can't turn up in modern day London and sit there with a computer.
He should have been there.
A lot of the fun in following Doctor Who is the speculation, and whether it's going to go anywhere or not at all, we're as much about that here at Type 40 Live as we are anything else. We do like to have a laugh as well as learn a thing or two, just like the Doctor. So yes, thank you to everybody who's been following us so far, and there's lots more to come. But whilst you're here, don't forget, don't make me send them round.
Click the buttons. Like and subscribe. Click the buttons. Click the buttons. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Now, against all odds, Doctor Who is alive and well. Running, roaming, jumping and japing all across the UK right now. Well, not right now. It could be a night shoot, come to think of it. But yeah, in recent weeks, Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, the 15th Doctor, and his companion Ruby Sunday, and a whole cast of supporting people and monsters, they've been out on the streets of Bristol, Swansea, Cardiff, and just this week they've been out in the hillsides of South Pembrokeshire in southwest Wales, filming for the next full season of Doctor Who. Series 14 or season 40, no idea what they'll call it in the finish, but I think it's tremendously exciting. I can't wait to see the end result of everything that they're putting together. Now, the identity of the next lead for Doctor Who, wow, did they take their time in unveiling that. It drove us all slightly mad. I think it was the longest gap in between one actor publicly vacating the role and the other one, the next one being announced. If you remember, we had lots of people. We had them all over the newspapers for months, didn't we? I think it drove us all slightly bonkers. So we had people like Chris Marshall. He was back in the equation. We got Vicky McClure from Line of Duty. We got that bloke from Class that nobody can remember his name. We had, what's her name, from Train Spotting, also from Line of Duty. I can't remember her, Kelly MacDonald. Yeah, she was there too.
Yes.
Ralph Little. And the bloke from Years and Years, God, Ollie Alexander. That was totally unflushable, wasn't it? That rumour, JT. Do you remember that?
Sadly.
Wouldn't go away, would it? And there was Lydia West there too, and Mari Douglas, all those people from It's a Sin that caught people's imaginations like that. But eventually though, we did get it revealed that Ncuti Gatwa, the 30-year-old sex education star, he was finally announced one bright Sunday lunchtime in May, wasn't it? So yeah, we have our new candidate, and we were, as Doctor Who fans, we weren't satisfied with that, were we? So we needed to know who was going to be accompanying him in the TARDIS right away. And again, we had a massive wait for that. Who would be the companion for the all-new age? It's hard to speculate about things like this, but we know, knowing the BBC and knowing the media, the BBC definitely have faces and talent that they're looking to bring through. But
how dare you?
But in the end, the answer was to be found on ITV and on the cobbles, with the former Coronation Street favourite Millie Gibson revealed as Ruby Sunday in November.
Almost revealed
last year. I know. So now at last, then we have our 15th Doctor, and we have his new best friend. They're kitted out too, so we get to see what they're wearing. So the future's very, very bright. Maybe it's certainly very, very orange. I can't remember which of the panel I've had a chance to catch up with since this was all revealed, but we've got them in costume. JT, would you be seen in this checkered and orange ensemble as sported by Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, or do you think it doesn't really matter and he looks splendid? What do you think?
What do I think? I think it's a wasted opportunity. I have worn something like it about 25 years ago. Ncuti is a very handsome man. He could wear anything, but Russell's obsession with making sure that the Doctor looks like he comes from the current day has really got on my nerves this time around, because they could have put Ncuti in a traditional looking Doctor Who costume from the Victorian, Edwardian or Georgian era, and he would have carried it off beautifully. But no, unfortunately, we get something you can get off the peg from Boohoo Man. So I'm not that impressed with it, I have to say. And I think it's quite boring, and I think it's a letdown.
I'm going to go further, because I haven't spoken about this on camera either. So I'm not boring anybody. I'm not repeating anything I've already said.
I haven't heard anything from you.
It absolutely
I have.
stinks. Ian, you and I have spoken about it. It stinks. Yeah. It's awful. I'm going to go further than JT. It's not just a missed opportunity. It's dropping the ball. JT, you're right. He's a really good-looking guy. You could have put him in a really sharp suit, and he would have looked stunning. He would have looked amazing. He just looks ridiculous. He's not a million miles away from the kind of clown look that we ridiculed Jodie for.
You think? I think he looks striking in this first picture.
Well, he does look striking. I'll agree with you. It's striking. It's bad. All wrong. The brown. There's just too much brown going on. The brown doesn't work. There's too many clashing checks. We kind of got a brown version of a Colin Baker outfit, and the orange that goes with it, and it's an orange mohair sweater by the looks of it. Of course it is. It's just like, God, dear Lord, no. I mean,
it looks like they've taken Tom's trousers and Tom's personal jacket and put it together. But it is a bit of a. I mean, it doesn't scream the Doctor to me, and I can't see him in that beautiful new console room set that we know is on the way. I can't see that actually having any sort of. So
it's not just that you think it's not just that you think it's not a good look for the Doctor. You don't think it shows Ncuti off to his best either.
No, I really don't.
Especially as we've shown some of the stuff that he wears, and he's very, very creative, although he's getting a lot of clothes, obviously. And he's very creative and he's very inventive. And he's one of these young men, as most young men are, who will experiment with clothing and fashion and try things and then say, well, that didn't work, I'll throw it out, or that did work, I'll keep it. And I do think, I don't know why the rhyme and reason that they've gone for that sort of look. As I say, you know, that's sort of, a friend of mine on the day that was announced, showed me where you can get this from a well-known online retailer, and they were sold out of this because all the cosplayers had got it. And I just don't know. I'm assuming they will change the look of the thing as they move through, but I would have loved to have seen him in something McGann-esque or Hartnell-esque or period, because he would have carried it off beautifully.
See, that was my question. Do you think this is going to be like just maybe a couple of episodes he'll be in this outfit and then he'll have something else? Because
I think the silhouette will remain the same, Charlotte.
Yeah.
I think the silhouette will remain the same, and the colours will change. I think they'll be quite. I mean, it's only 8 episodes, 9 if you include the Christmas Day special, which I think he'll probably be faffing around with in a shirt, open neck shirt for most of the time. But I don't know. I think it's a bit.
I think probably at most they might change the jumper midway or something like that. But I think
with Eccleston,
I'm so surprised that nobody seems as keen on this look and this silhouette as I am. I think he looks really heroic.
I like
it.
You like
There's
it
nothing
too.
wrong with the silhouette. The silhouette is great. It's the bit in the middle of the silhouette that's the bad stuff.
But it's been done before. It's a mix of Tennant. I mean, it's exactly the same as Tennant, the long coat and the trousers. And then Eccleston. I mean, Russell, I just don't understand why Russell will not allow the Doctor to be a time traveller.
Do you think that they did this? Is this costume a statement?
Of what? If it is, what is it a statement of?
I believe that this costume is a starting point of re-establishing the character as a modern hero, and I see more. In my view, I see it more aligned with David Tennant and Chris Eccleston's looks.
Rubbish,
but I know
it looks nothing like it. For God's sake, what's wrong with you? This costume.
No, let me explain. I'll tell you.
Crap.
Let me explain. I'll tell you.
Rubbish.
Because it's paired right. It's paired right down. It's got simple components to it, and I see it as something that can be potentially expanded from. I think it's something. I think he looks very comfortable in it. I think he looks heroic in it, particularly in that shot on his own. And just in the same way,
does he look heroic? He looks like he just came out of Primark. I'm sorry, Rob. I have to agree with JT.
This is the point. This is the point.
There's nothing heroic about what he's wearing at all.
The very first time I saw him. Well, if you let me explain, the very first time I saw him, he was stood like this on some tarmac somewhere, and to me, that looks like a classic, youngish, heroic look.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think the pattern is kind of timeless, even if the cut isn't. And I do think this is a good starting point. Now, after I spoke independently to yourself, I think it was you. Yeah, it was you actually. And you said to me, "Oh, he looks like he's just come out of Primark." And I had to sort of reluctantly agree, because I do think you're right. I don't think it's. There is something of the 1950s about it for me, but I have to say, generally speaking, I think you're right. And now that JT's mentioned, you mentioned Boohoo, so
Boohooman.com and others, you can get the exact stuff.
Listening to the both of you, I do see where you're getting this from.
Right. So when I saw this costume, right, the first time I saw this costume, I was going to meet Simon. For Christmas lunch, right?
Yay!
And,
we were.
And I remember I got the text from Dan. He was like, "This is costume." I was like, so excited. So I went, and then I met Simon.
I walked into the restaurant,
and they looked at. I showed it.
Shows me the phone. I'm like, "What the hell is that?" We were, and the thing is, I mean, people are commenting in the chat, and it's true. The tailoring is non-existent. The fit is terrible. It doesn't even. He's got a really good physique, and he's just buried in it. It doesn't even. It's not nicely cut. It's horrible. It's not. Horrible.
I mean, what Dan's saying there. I mean, Dan, you're talking about a modern hero. The Doctor is not a modern hero. He's a time traveler from the planet Gallifrey who fits in whichever time he's in, and that's why in the original Doctor Who, the proper Doctor Who. Look at Hartnell, look at Troughton, look at Pertwee, and even look at Baker, who was still influenced by sort of Edwardian Victorian style in his silhouette. And I miss those days. And this is Russell has this infatuation since day one. He must look like he's just walked off the street. I don't get it, because he's going to look in that outfit.
That's why I feel he reminded me of Chris Eccleston's Doctor.
But that's
And
I mean,
David Tennant, to a lesser extent, obviously, because he had the pinstripe. Here we have the checks, the plaid. Charlotte?
See, weirdly for me, you thought, considering I've said my Doctor Who started with the modern era, that's what I got a lot of influence from. When I first looked at this, I thought of Troughton. I thought of more older classic because of the print for me. That's what it was. It really made me think of that.
I think the print is the first thing you see. I think it's because it's a lot of checks, and then you see the jumper sort of coming from the centre.
And then I saw like the longer coat, and that also made me think of older. And to me, it does look and I think maybe that's because I'm not influenced by fashion and high street. I am not. I'm sort of, if you know the way I dress normally, I just get whatever looks all right from the. If I'm go shopping on, I'm not a fashion person. And maybe that's why, to me, it does look a bit like that's something a normal person wouldn't wear. And I think, honestly, if you're not fashion conscious, that doesn't look like a normal outfit.
No, it does. I do disagree with that. I think it really is looking like a normal outfit because you can get it from certain websites in the UK, and they are now sold out of it. So you have to go on a reserve list to get the coat, to get the jumpers, to get the shoes, to get the trousers, because they're mass produced. And I reckon that's where they've gone. They've gone onto these websites and just bought it, But it's still, for me, a missed opportunity of putting him into something that screams time traveler. I would wanted him in something H.G. Wells-ish, something period that wasn't 21st century.
Well, and also that it's something a bit distinctive and says something about his character.
Something that says, "I'm the Doctor."
Yeah, and this
we haven't had that for such a long time.
This just doesn't say that. It hasn't got enough about it to me to say anything. I didn't like the Chris Eccleston outfit, but at least it said something. It made a statement about what kind of person.
It was a little bit beaten up. It was a little bit beaten up, wasn't it, Chris Eccleston?
Correct.
This
And
does look like it's just come straight off the peg.
Correct. And it also kind of said, look, I'm from the north. I'm a bloke. I'm not. It said something about the character. This just says nothing other than I'm brave enough to wear all these different checks and a clashing orange mohair jumper.
I don't like the rings either. I don't like the rings. I don't like the chain.
Well,
I'm not so keen on the accessorizing. I think it depends. I think you can be a bit on the nose with these things. I think Capaldi with his ring with one little piece of jewelry, which we know was modified because he didn't want to take his wedding ring off.
Wedding ring, yeah.
A lovely thing. This is something slightly more. I wonder whether it's a merchandise opportunity, JT.
No. I was going to talk about that. I mean, that stuff is that outfit. I mean, that is not going to hit with the public at all. That isn't. I mean, look at that picture we showed earlier of the Tom image I had from the 70s. Yeah. That's Doctor Who to this very, very day. And now you're trying to bring into it this thing that Ncuti's going to be wearing for his first year at least. That's not looking any good.
I think the figure of a man, the figure of a man clad in plaid isn't necessarily. I mean, you could imagine it working very well in animated form, a little bit in the way that Andy Capp was, Simon, but it's probably not the best.
I think the animators would absolutely hate having to do all that plaid. I think in many ways, you see, going back to the Chris Eccleston thing for a second, I think if anything, secretly, possibly, the team that doing the original Chris Eccleston series realised that maybe they had got the costume wrong a little bit, and so when David Tennant, because he doesn't look doctorish, whatever happens, he doesn't look doctorish. Yeah. Now maybe they got it right from the point of view of it was an in for the general public, but then sure enough, series 2, David Tennant steps out of the TARDIS. Very, very doctorish.
Wasn't Simon? Wasn't the reason why Chris Eccleston was dressed that way is because somebody said to Russell T, "Are you doing that show, that costume show again?" Didn't they? No, and he got. Was it that JT? I can't remember.
No, it wasn't. Russell had written it in the script before Eccleston was cast.
Right.
The Doctor was in a leather jacket.
Okay, all right.
As I say, I can see the reason for doing that, but I do think it's interesting that literally after just 1 year, they brought in a costume that was very, very doctorish. That had got.
But that was quite contemporary. You see, to me, the Tennant outfit is similar as well. I mean, I think the Tennant outfit also looks a little bit beaten up. I mean, I think the coats, for example, were salvaged from knackered old sofas and things like that. So they were made from fabric that had been used elsewhere. It's got that sort of worn look. But I think that Tennant was, just as you say, JT, he looked very contemporary in exactly the same way. And so I understand your criticisms of this. and I still like it. I'm not sure what it is. I think partly, if I'm being honest with myself, it's partly the relief at being able to recognise my childhood hero again stood there. But it's very clear.
I can't.
I can't recognise my childhood hero
we're divided, as well as we're divided here on the panel. It's exactly the same story in the live chat. For every Daniel Leach we've got who says I like it, we have an Eastland Burkhold who says it could fit him so much better.
I think the reason why people are saying they like it, whatever, I don't know. Probably I'm being stupid here. It's because look, nobody wants to say anything because of times that we're
climate
in.
Change?
Not climate change. The times that we're in. A lot of people are afraid to say, look, you know what? He shouldn't be black. The Doctor shouldn't be black. The Doctor shouldn't be a woman. And you know what? For me, it stems exactly with that. I don't believe race swapping, as everybody knows, and I don't believe the Doctor should be black. So maybe I'm biased because of the way he's dressed, whatever, and stuff like that. And maybe that's it. But I want Doctor Who back. I want the Doctor that is supposed to be the Doctor and supposed to look like the Doctor. That's what I want. And I thought they were going to give us that because of the horrible thing that happened with the last Doctor, but they haven't. They seem to be going for modern times and this stupid woke rubbish that they have. They seem to be going down that route, and I'm just got my fingers crossed that they're not going to go down that route.
I think to extrapolate that from this costume is a real reach. I think when you've got somebody, for example, naming that,
you think so?
When you've got
he's
somebody,
wearing
for example,
a woman's jumper.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that.
But you found out. You found out, didn't you? And
I think to be honest, I actually have to
step in and
say you can clearly see it's a woman's jumper when you actually see it.
But what I'm saying is, I'm the guy who found that out and brought it to YouTube. I was the first person to make a video on that. So, I know, but it wasn't. I was surprised when I found it out as other people were. When I initially saw the photo, it wasn't. It wasn't the same as seeing a picture of somebody emblazoned with a giant rainbow.
How do we know that? I mean, Shooty's build, he can't wear a female jumper. It would be uncomfortable for him, and the cut would be down here on him.
See, I was thinking that because when you showed it on the website, it looked like what Shooty's wearing is a slightly different version of what you. I'm not denying. I'm just saying, to me, it might be inspired by a woman's jumper, but could it be an actual masculine cut of it?
I'm afraid that Simon is right, and this is the actual jumper. It is the same one. It is mass produced. It was available until the cosplayers bought it. I want to look at Richard Brooks' comment here, who said that he's got an orange target on his chest, which now all of the Doctors stand out. Let's not be churlish about it, but Richard's kind of got a point there. I can't deny he has. There is the fact that we are entering a new era, and this show is going to mark itself out stylistically, make a statement, and also make it look like this Doctor and this companion, they kind of belong together. I think bringing them together and selling us on their relationship will be a major part of reinstalling this show in the hearts of the nation. We've got some photos just from this last couple of days in Pembrokeshire. They've been up on hillsides. It doesn't look very warm up there. You've got this one of Millie Gibson. She's also in orange and plaid there. She doesn't look very happy.
No, he's going to take her jumper and wear it. Oh no! Is that what's going to happen?
We don't know.
Is that what's going to happen?
They're filming another block at the moment. So there she is. There she is. There up on a hillside somewhere. Like I say, whether she's waiting for a rider or whether that's an actual line of dialogue being spoken, I don't know. Got a closer look at the TARDIS there, and I'm a little disappointed they're sticking with the previous box. I'd have liked to have seen something new, something a little less. I think this is over designed. I've decided.
I agree.
I think it was seeing the police box in that Harry Styles movie. My Policeman, was it called something like that? Has made me realise that this looks like a prop. It doesn't look like a policeman.
Yeah, it does like a prop. Also,
weathered it, Simon. They've weathered the windows and the doors a little. It's a little yellow.
Yeah, but to me, it just you're right. Over designed is the perfect word, and it just almost looks like a caricature of a TARDIS. It's like they've accentuated all the bits that didn't actually need accentuating. I don't know why. I don't like the silhouette of it. It just doesn't look quite right.
But they built up the top bit, Simon.
Yeah, the lamp in particular is really odd.
Yeah.
It just looks overly large.
Looks like it
somehow.
came from IKEA and they've painted it up a little bit, but you know, I still kind of like it because it's a bit Davison-ish, but I just wish they'd have had a bit of a restart. We've got a closer look at Millie Gibson here, so she's not in the same jumper that Shooty was wearing. But she's such a pretty girl. Genuinely, I still think this casting is a great move for the show. She does seem really into what she's doing. Proper ray of sunshine. I can't wait to see her in action. We've got some pictures too of Ncuti Gatwa. Now, you could be pleased to learn that our instinct was that this Doctor, as sharp as that look is, as solid a look as it seems, and as divisive as it's proven to be with the panel, we have got further pictures of Ncuti Gatwa out today. So this is them filming today, and here he is. He's in now. This is they're both wearing overall jackets, so they're not exposed to the elements. And Ncuti appears to be calling out there. He's wearing an orange beanie, and he's got orange sleeves just poking from underneath it. Yeah, looks like they're going through something, doesn't it, JT? They're going through something there.
Well, that looks like a rehearsal shot to me.
Yeah,
it's very, very cold. They look like the jackets that they give them to keep warm.
Yeah.
They're obviously they're playing with the marks there. That is actually quite a difficult shot. If he's on some sort of rocks there, it would take just a second to twist your ankle on that, and then that's him out for a couple of weeks. Insurances would take
Tom
that.
Baker found that out, didn't he?
Well,
within the first couple of months, yeah.
But also the orange that you're seeing on the sleeve, Dan, is clearly the orange turned back of the
as it is with the blue on that jacket.
Same the blue on the other one, yeah.
They're obviously hiding whatever he's wearing on that under that thing, but they must be freezing out there at the moment. But
Well, I was saying, do you know that picture you showed a while ago of the slate board? I said I said, oh, is that Ncuti holding
that's
it?
right, yeah.
Because what he's wearing in there looks blue. It looks like a blue jacket.
That's not him. He's got white. They've got white hands. The hands are white.
Yeah.
They're not
Peter Harrington says, to me, the costume part of the Doctor's is part of the Doctor's personality, but to the character just thrown on, always on Earth in disguise, never universal, always of our past. Except when he's not. I mean, John Pertwee had the frilly shirt, but I think a lot of Pertwee's clothes, they look like they were bought in the 70s to me. I don't know. I think this is I think this is a version of what we remember from when we were kids, and not necessarily always the truth.
Well, I think John helped to make the frilly shirt available in the 70s, but for me, that came from the ruffles of years and years before. So again, it was that. I think Jack Thursby said it in the chat earlier, and I think he got it spot on there. The fact that the Doctor is an alien, he's a Gallifreyan. Yes, he may have been around humans for thousands of years now, but he still hasn't quite got it. And when it comes to the dress sense, he should be used to ceremonial robes and a silly hat. But actually what he's trying to do, he should be going into the TARDIS wardrobe and throwing things on, thinking this is what humans look like, and getting it totally wrong. Like again with Tom's original outfit, like with John, and like with Troughton, who just, well, he got his given to him, so that's a different story. But again, that's the character. It's what we're talking about there. The character is there getting it not quite right sartorically, and I don't know. This one just looks too done.
We do have more. So we were speaking about how Ncuti look in the plaid there with the orange jumper could be a starting point. Well, they did take those big coats off, and we have these from a distance here.
Oh, right.
So it does seem like whichever block it is they're shooting at the moment, they're already moving on with the look, and that this Doctor will have a wardrobe and he will be wearing clothes rather than costume. The Doctor, rather than Ncuti Gatwa, appears to be wearing some sort of orange or dark gold coat here, which again seems to follow the same silhouette as the plaid look. So it looks similar to what you said there, JT and Ian. It still looks modern from what we can see. It looks
like he's either just beamed down from Nerva Beacon, and it's a tribute to Liz, or he's just come from Fury from the Deep.
It's also believed that the beanie that he was wearing with the overall on is part of the costume there. If we're going a little bit closer, he's still wearing it with this variant there when he stood on that shot on the hillside there. So the Doctor in a beanie. Ian, are you buying that?
No, just don't talk to me. Seriously, I'm just really
Simon, they're moving it on. It's not all plaid. They're moving it on. Clothes, not costume. Does that make you feel slightly better? It does.
No, it doesn't. No, of course it doesn't.
I'm sorry, but whatever happens, what I'm looking at the moment is not the Doctor, and that's not Doctor Who. Period.
I hate to sound negative and stuff like that because I love the show, right? And Simon loves the show, and so does JT. And we just want the Doctor back. And
that's not the Doctor.
They're not giving us the Doctor at all.
That's not the program. That's not what I watch Doctor Who for. These characters could be out of Hollyoaks. That's not what I watch Doctor Who for. That's it. I'm done. I'm like Ian. Stop talking to me. I'm done.
I don't know, mate.
Unfortunately, the same as we keep on saying. Of course, we all want this era.
We all want it to work.
But boy, my hopes started kind of low, and they're just getting lower by the day.
I want to be wrong.
Nothing is selling me on it yet.
Everybody, listen to me. I want to be wrong about this show. I want to come on live, Type 40 and go, do you know what, everybody? I was so wrong. This show was fantastic. That's what I want to say.
You might be interested to learn that now we're moaning about something, the views are going up and up up. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about what we're moaning about next and what's going on here on Type 40 Live. Now, to me, this is... It's a key component of part of the Doctor. I'm not going to lie. Of course, what they wear is important. We've all seen when it doesn't work, when they have misconceived something, not followed it through in the way that it could have been. I'm thinking of what Colin was wearing is a prime example. Not spoken to the actor more, pushed them into something, and we've seen them get it spectacularly wrong in 2018. To me, this isn't that. To me, this is DT. This is Chris Eccleston. It might work. It might not. I think that it does put more. I think it puts more of the weight onto Ncuti. He has really got. If this is dividing us, and I really like his look, I do. But if it's dividing the public the way it's dividing us, it means that there's going to be even more pressure on Ncuti to connect with that character and convince us he's the Doctor, Charlotte.
Oh, yeah. I think, of course, when you look at a Doctor, humans are visual beings. We look at something and we judge, and it's part of how we receive stuff. But I think he's going to have to just have some really good dialogue. He's going to have to really perform. And even though that shot of it looks like he had his arms open, and to me, that made me feel of almost a Doctor saying, look at the world around you. And that's what I love about this character, the fact that they've got that wonder. They've got that they can just step out the TARDIS and find excitement. And so even just his body language in that shot, I was like, oh no, that looks Doctorish. Even if it's not in shot and he was practicing.
I know what you're seeing, Charlotte. What are you seeing? What are you seeing?
No,
none of what you're saying. None of what you're saying that makes no sense.
No, Ian, I did. No,
this is all subjective, though. This is all subjective, Ian. It's what we
What the hell is going
on? No, listen. Think about. I think that's a moment with Matt that I love. When he's on top of Stonehenge and he's talking to all the spaceships, and his body language is open, his arms are expressive. He's showing this sort of larger than life personality, and for me, that's wonder, and that's what I think of the Doctor personality wise a bit. And even if I said it could just be Ncuti practicing, it could just be him trying something out. I don't know, but I'm saying even just a body language. And if people know me, I really look for non-visual stuff, and Matt's Doctor, that's why I adore Matt so much. And even if Ncuti's got a bit of that, it will work.
I hope you're right.
I think you have to be careful with that because it is out of context and we don't know the context.
That's what I said.
Well, just to address what Dan was saying there as well, can I just reiterate right now at this time, the public in the United Kingdom don't give a toss. They don't care. The big test is down to David Tennant and Catherine Tate.
It's still such a long way off, isn't it, JT?
In November this year, there's 3 episodes in November this year. The public will come back for Tennant nearer that time, I'm sure they'll come back for Tennant and Tate because they're two massive, huge, popular names. They're a real box office draw. The situation and the problem they will have is to get from November to Christmas Day, which is a bit of a jump for Shooty's first episode, and the public don't know Shooty. I know he's got 20 million for there, but they are a particular age
It's
group.
not the same. Yeah.
More coming to Doctor Who, but right now we have to remember that over the next few months, the public don't care. They are out. They are gone. Like most of us as fans. So the whole thing about this, the crux of this is down to Tennant, Tate, and the scripts. And if Russell's messed up those scripts, next year's series is a flop.
They need to see Shooty Gatwa going. They need to. They need to see Shooty Gatwa going mano a mano with whatever this is.
Love it.
I think that will also do a lot of heavy lifting if he can see off whatever this giant slug thing is, get grappling there and come out
mollusk.
As the Doctor only could, and be the master of the Whooniverse.
I understand what JT is saying because it's obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring back the old fans slowly and surely,
and the public.
With David and the public with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and hoping they'll hang around for this new iteration of the Doctor. It's a good plan. But let's see if it's going to work, right? And let's see whether
it's down to the scripts, isn't it? It's down to the scripts. I mean, the public will watch David Tennant in anything. We know that, and they'll watch Catherine in it. And I'm sure that's the box office draw that the BBC will need to get the 60th anniversary 3 episodes done. But as I say, the trick will be retaining that information so that they come back on Christmas Day. Now, the highlight of the fact is they're going back on Christmas Day, 7:00 in the evening. And that's the big draw, because when you looked at what the BBC's output has been for the last few years at Christmas, it's absolutely shockingly bad. The worst it's ever been. The last 2 Christmas ratings have been atrocious for the BBC. Doctor Who could help bring people back at 7:00 on a Christmas night. And I know that, no, I don't know. The rumor is that they are changing the schedules because, you know, you can guarantee what's on the site on BBC. It's shocking. Yeah, but with Doctor Who now back in the mix at Russell's insistence for the Christmas Day, they may just shake everything up around it, you know. But that's going to be the interesting bit. What will that overnight figure be? And what will the weekly figure be? And will they come back between Christmas Day, 25th of December this year, 2023, and will they wait until the end of February or March when the next series starts?
Can I ask a question?
I've got to move on. Ian.
Let me just ask one question, right? Do you guys think, right, that bringing David Tennant back, even though I want to see David Tennant again, spoils the whole aspect of going
We're going to come to the Tennant
Doctor
stuff later on in the show. I've got to move on now. We've got a comment here from Matthew Pounder who says people are basing it all on faith. You've got to have faith in this show up to a point, but I think, Matthew, some of us are weighing it up based on the investment of talent and resources back into this show, the repositioning of the brand. That's not faith. That's the evidence of our own eyes. And those of us who've seen the new actors and other things, we're bringing that into the equation too. So I think that's subjective too. I think it's down to the individual.
It's also backstage as well.
We respond to,
team, Dan. You know, that's just as responsible. I mean, some of us are aware more than others of the production team and where they stand. That's a big issue for it as well.
Svila Betkin, the rabbi from another planet, he's in the house and says, I agree 100% with Charlotte. Read the body language. I totally see it too.
And
talking
your
about
face
body
is
language.
Be so red when you're wrong. It's going to be so red when you're wrong.
Ian,
and it's like, you're going to get the rabbi going, blah. You're going to get him doing all that nonsense, you know?
You do sound, Ian, like you are quite... You're dialed out on this. You're not going to be.
No,
it sounds
I'm
like they have
watch
to.
It.
You do sound that your mind's been made up. You really
do.
No,
not at all. Not at all. I want to put it on the record that my mind is not made up. Otherwise, I wouldn't be listening to all of this and be part of this. I want this thing to succeed. I want Shooty to blow me up. Maybe that's the wrong thing to say, but I want Shooty to impress me. That's what I want, seriously. So
I think we can definitely say that although we're divided here about the look of Shooting, about where that could be going, it's definitely a thumbs down from most people in the live chat on the beanie.
That is costume.
The beanie. The beanie
Can I just
particularly has
not
gone down well.
Can I just mention about that beanie? That actually, if it is Shooty's own, because he could have still been rehearsing at that point, because those costumes,
Yes.
believe it or not, they will have a lot of them, so they would have invested.
Yeah.
They're not going to want them splattered with mud and all that, because that costs as well. And we're all clamping down right now, even when you've got a budget the size of the new Doctor Who. But there are, believe it or not, there are a range of beanies coming out later in the year. It might be time. They're all branded as well. You will
Really?
on a beanie at the end of the year.
Is it going to be orange?
No, it's black. It's black with
It's
the blue
black.
logo.
All right, it's
One
black,
pre-order.
okay.
I'll wear it when it arrives. It's nice.
All right.
Thank you to everybody for the
Brilliant.
comments in the live chat. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about David Tennant and the 14th Doctor. Oh, come on, Ian.
No, I'm just
Stop groaning, for heaven's sake.
do you know what, right? As I was saying, right, for me, it kind of spoils it a bit for me that they did this. They had to do this because of the Jodie era. Bring back someone that was popular.
It's also
And
the
I think-
60th. Ian, it's
Yeah,
also the 60th
I know,
anniversary, mate. If you think that David Tennant wasn't going to be on screen in 2023 in Doctor Who,
In some
I
way,
don't know
it
what
was
to
always
tell
I
you.
gonna happen.
I know you're right, but still, for me, the canon of the Doctor and how I knew the Doctor, you know, from New Who to classic Who, it's kind of been dented for me. Do you know what I mean? Bringing back an old
if you're
Doctor.
talking about that, it's been dented since 2005.
Oh yeah, well, I wouldn't agree with that.
But the whole thing about this is that they had to do this, whether we
Yeah,
we
I
want
know,
to or
I
not,
know.
whether it's the anniversary year or not. It just happened to fall into an
Yeah, I
anniversary year.
know.
They all had the lovely idea. The BBC loved it because they were going to take it off the air.
Yeah.
So it just comes in magically to the fact. And as I say, it's going to be huge. The British public will come back and watch Tennant and Tate over 3 nights.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. They'll love it.
To me, it just kind of the idea that he transforms back into an older iteration is like, oh no, they have to do that because of Jodie.
The whole thing about that, though, Ian, is that Russell and Moffat and Chibnall, and this is one of the reasons you should never let a fan get hold of Doctor Who, to be quite honest. They create this whole world and they back each other up, don't they, on certain things? So actually, one of your lovely episodes that you like is Day of the Doctor. Now, in that, the curator, who is supposedly, allegedly, a future version of the Doctor, says you may revisit some old faces in your time.
Yeah, it got set up then.
It's set, yeah, exactly, Charlotte. It's set up. Russell's run with it, and that's what Russell and Chibnall and Moffat have done with these things, little things throughout the entire run of the reboot Who, and they've built on it. So actually, the precedent is there, as Charlotte says.
Yeah.
I love the different points of view. That's what we like to give you here on Type 40.
And Barry Tuck's not even here. Sorry, nobody gets that today.
Points of view. Answers to questions that are on the minds of most fans, and you'll get subjective responses and honest responses every time here on Type 40 Live. I've got a question for
Especially
you guys.
from me.
Right now, brew or poo, which are you going to go for? Because it's time for the fan favourite Type 40 Doctor Who ad break, everybody. Yes, of course, it's back. So, yeah, this is how it works. You go and either top up or hose the smallest room in your TARDIS, whilst the rest of you,
me too,
the rest of you enjoy the ad break. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes for more Type 40 Live.
You press a button, and you see the person you're talking to hundreds of miles away. It's a commonplace in science fiction. Here's the real thing in 1984. Hello, John.
Hello, Tom.
Hang on a minute. The viewphone is under test at British Telecom's Martlesham Research Establishment. And it's just one of the projects that's under development here, that's bringing the 21st century very much alive today.
British Telecom, the power behind the button.
There are 2 ways to get your hair Vosine clean, original and frequent wash herbal, with the fresh smell of alpine herbs.
Mum's chatting up the milkman again.
We've all got someone we like to have nice clean hair for, haven't we?
Vosine.
lit the mild cigar.
When I pay good money for saucepans, I expect them to last. Don't you? Now, Prestige Lifetime is guaranteed to last 10 years. And that means thousands of hours on your cooker with a lot of time in the washing up. That's why only Prestige Lifetime have thicker stainless steel bodies, solid copper bottoms, and real teak handles. Excuse me.
You can put the dinner on. I'll be home in 20 minutes.
For looks that last, it's Lifetime. Only from Prestige.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the console room for more Type 40 Live. Yes, all those memories. Yeah, I hope you've been fed or watered or emptied out or whatever else. We're back with the rest of our generously endowed Doctor Who annual for 2023, the 60th anniversary year. We're teasing the treats or maybe the terrors.
I've got a question. Can I just answer before we go on to the next part of the show? Can I just answer a question that Simon in the chat asked me earlier, because I feel a bit ignorant that I didn't get back to. Simon was asking about this T-shirt. Just to let you know, Simon, that remember in Merchandise Paradise a few weeks back, I was telling you about the T-shirts and the ranges that are coming for Forbidden Planet, exclusive to Forbidden Planet. This is one of them. This was actually available on the 23rd of November last year for one day. However, they will be back. You have to keep an eye on Forbidden Planet's website. They're going to be out later on this year. It's the 4th Doctor at the moment, but these will be back. And so will the beanies with the logo. They'll be out later this year. That was mentioning it as well. So there you go, Simon. Forbidden Planet.
Not me. It wasn't me. Not this Simon. This
Simon in the chat. Forbidden Planet. Keep looking at them.
We're looking at the past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who here on our big annual show for 2023, kicking off Series 6 of Type 40 Live. And now we're going back a little further. Back.
And the last time I went back, I fell over.
You're going to like this. Now, there was a time when the classic series of Doctor Who, it seemed increasingly sort of forgotten, maybe, and even amongst seasoned fans. I think we were encouraged, though, JT, to label it as a kind of, at the very least, the guiltier of the two pleasures, even into the DVD years. But in recent times, as we close in on the 60th anniversary of that very first episode in November, the classic incarnation of Doctor Who seems more talked about, celebrated, and thus alive than ever. And I believe this is due in no small part to the Doctor Who The Collection, that lavish kind of partwork style range of Blu-ray box sets that are offering those episodes out again, all looking better than ever and bursting with value-added media. The latest of those has been announced this very day. Slightly too late for us to talk about it, really. But it's not just the box sets. There's other projects too. So there's audio ranges of the old Target books, for example. There's soundtracks. There's all manner of things. Up until recently, there was animated adventures. And there may be, again, because although we don't have details about this, The Mirror recently ran with a story, and I wondered if you'd seen this. So this was their headline. They got exclusive Lost Doctor Who episodes brought back using cartoons to mark the 60th anniversary. So they say here that Lost Doctor Who episodes are being brought back using cartoons to mark the anniversary, and that 2 stories specifically are to be given the animated treatment. They've named The Smugglers and The Underwater Menace, both I think from 1966, as the stories that are gonna get this are going to get the 2D treatment here. So the sites such as this, The Underwater Menace and The Smugglers. Mm-hmm. This has come out of nowhere, JT. You know, we know that BBC pulled out, BBC America, they pulled out of the animated line, didn't they? And lots of fans were really upset about that. Nothing's been confirmed about this yet. The Mirror used to have a fantastic reputation for Doctor Who exclusives and spoilers. Not so much now. They're starting to get more wrong than right. What are your instincts on this one?
Well, did it come out of nowhere? Not really, if you were watching this show, because we made several hints in the last season
Yeah,
that the animations were only on hold. They were swapping companies because of new deals. And this is that sort of thing. You know, this is what's coming through there. And sometimes I think the Daily Mirror is watching us. So I'd like to say good evening to the Daily Mirror, or good morning or good afternoon if you are. No, the fact that what's going to be happening is, of course, they're going to be looking at animations, but the feedback from the last set of animations, including my own review, is they were absolutely rubbish. They were terrible, absolutely awful. And so what they need to do, they want them broadcast quality for the future. Now, the stuff they've already have is not broadcast quality. You can't put that on primetime television or in Saturday morning television, for crying out loud. So you're going to have to invest properly. And that takes business, it takes deals, it takes negotiation, it takes finance, it takes partners. So these things are in the works for happening. And I am absolutely confident that at some point, I don't know if it's going to be this year, but I think we will be seeing Blu-ray and DVD releases of proper animations, but I also think we will be seeing them broadcast on a platform such as Disney+.
People are putting two and two together, and they have been since Disney were confirmed as being involved with all new Doctor Who. People are speculating, you know, Disney was built on animation, wasn't it? That maybe they could be involved in this too. They may have stepped in where BBC America stepped away.
It's not what I've heard. I think it's from what I'm hearing.
A big commitment.
And it is all rumor. It's basically being led by studios with Bad Wolf as part of that partnership, but mainly by studios looking for somebody who can do it properly. And I know they were fishing around Britain to see if there was anyone in Britain that could do it, but I don't know the outcome of that.
Bad Wolf are more than capable of putting something like this together, aren't they, Charlotte? You know, I remember that, for example, Netflix have done animated versions of The Witcher, haven't they? They've tested out things like that.
That's what I was going to say. Streaming services the last couple of years have really shown if you get a bespoke, if you get the right people in to animate anything, they can be spectacular. Netflix had Arcane, which is just gorgeous, and that's from like a very small sort of. They know what they're doing house, but I think that's in France who do that. You've got The Witcher, they had one. I don't know quite where that house is from, but they've done a few. Castlevania looks amazing on Netflix if you ever watch that. So animation has come on so much. And I think what I'm excited is it's the styles that have come on, that it's not just your usual, every animation looks the same now. They all have got this sort of touch of, you can tell whoever's worked on it has got a vision. And I would love to have that sort of emphasis, that vision, somebody who's not just doing it because they know they're going to get the contract anyway, or they might be a bit pally. Let's be fair. I think some people got contracts because of that reason before.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I would love just to said Netflix, if there's one good thing they have been doing the last couple of years, it's animation. So, and that sort of degree of money possibly, or just talent, I would think, oh God, give that to some classic Doctor Who stories and realise it properly. I would love it.
I mean, the problem, the situation you've got there, of course, is it is finance. And at the moment, the show isn't making that much money because there's nothing out there. Yeah, the merchandise is not making money for them going in because it's been lack over the last few years. From what I'm seeing, it's not going to be as busy as some people are expecting it to be this year because they're going to concentrate on next year. So, you know, when the merchandise starts to come through, a lot of that will go into productions wherever it's going to be in this Whoniverse, I would imagine, from a business point of view. But you've got the partners. I mean, if you look at the Type 40 Facebook page for the Blu-ray and DVD collectors, we've posted on there certain things about people we found on YouTube. Who one wonderful animation recently based on the Celestial Toymaker, which was fresh and different and weird, just like the story. So there's lots of talent out there that can be doing it now, and a lot of them are on YouTube, to be quite honest.
People who are in, such as Bad Wolf and platforms like Disney Plus, they'll be just as aware of individuals like that as we are. And okay, I think the first animated Doctor Who, was that The Invasion, Simon? The first.
It was The Invasion, yeah. Yeah, it was The Invasion.
That was to a very, very high standard, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was Cosgrove Hall. You would expect.
It was Cosgrove Hall. And it did set the bar high, and it has been a downward spiral ever since.
It's a shame that
they next to completely stopped.
Contract to do more, and unfortunately, business caught up with them, didn't it?
They next to completely stopped with them, and then when they brought them back, I think they tried to push it on, but again have reached a sort of not a dead end as such, but I think they tried to even be creative with it. But they kept coming up against a problem, which it seemed very clear to me in the ones that I've seen, in that the resources just dried up.
Yeah, but don't forget you had the Infinite Quest around about 2007, which was broadcast. It was broadcast on television.
But that did not look good.
But it showed that, again, it was different, but it looked better than what came on the DVDs and the Blu-rays, which fans were expected to pay for.
It does seem odd that you have to question the business decision for some of the people that have been given the commissions for the animation, and I'm not naming any names here whatsoever, and I'm not saying which. No, I'm not going to. People know, and I'm not going to say which of the animations that I'm talking about, because people know. But there are people out there that should not have got the commissions that they got. Why on earth did they get them? How on earth did they get them?
Boys Club.
That's what I said, Pally.
Yeah,
we all know why they got them. Oh my goodness, who could we be talking about? It's unforgivable that certain people got certain commissions. It just should never have happened.
When the quality has been the quality's been so variable, hasn't it, Simon?
But I think variable is being a little bit overly generous to be honest, Dan.
Because what customers need to invest
is just stunk to high heaven. It's unwatchable. Some of it is unwatchable.
I spoke earlier on about the DVD collection, the Blu-ray range. I think one of the reasons why that has endured and got people's commitment, waiting to hit pre-order right away ritualistically, is because it's a consistent product. They haven't been able to do the same with the animations. And to me, I appreciate the creativity, but I agree with you, Simon. I think that they should probably have stuck with one animation house, got the best people they possibly could, and pushed on.
You know what? Do you know what, Dan? There are, as we've already just said, there are fans out there who are doing better animations than some of the stuff that is being put out commercially. Why are we not going to some of those fans and saying, we like what you're doing, let's bring you on board, let's give you a commission to do something?
To be fair, we don't know how many hours that those, because fans will put in more hours, won't they? Out of love, we don't know whether it would be possible, whether it would be financially viable, Ian, to create something of that quality with a proper animation house, do we? Which is, it seems a massive shame.
Yeah, and remember in business there's deadlines, and with the fans they don't have deadlines, so they can spend years on it, or even 24/7. They can go like sleep 1 hour and then keep going. Some fans, I know some fans do that. So, but with business it's different, isn't it? So
it is different, Ian. But I think the thing is that the fans out there, give them the opportunity to do some of this stuff, and I think they would absolutely jump at it. And if you say to them, "Look, you've only got a month to do this, but we'll give you the commission if you can do it," these are fans. They would jump at doing it.
It's politics, isn't it? It's all to do with who they've got deals with, who their friends are, blah, blah, blah.
Matthew Pounder here says, Simon, no more Mr. Ben animation.
Mr. B. Mr. Ben.
I mean, Mr. Ben was good.
Some of it is of that style. We've got a comment here from Cliff Maxwell who says Disney, as a distributor on the US side, is not going to be televising animated Who done by other companies, which is true, Cliff. But they would if it was created by a business partner such as Bad Wolf, wouldn't they?
Yeah. I mean, this is a deal to be done, and Disney will probably end up buying them anyway. So it's just pure business. I mean, I don't think they're going to be in any situation to say,
I know I keep saying it, JT, and I know it's a boring answer. I'm so obsessed with the show. Disney Plus shows Bluey, and they don't make that. That's animated.
I don't know enough about that to comment because it's a kids' show.
Right.
I don't know. I'm aware of it, but I don't.
Raymond Williams says there are some great animators on YouTube. I saw a 2-minute scene of Galaxy 4 made by a fan 12 years ago. It was miles ahead of the recent releases. The likeness of Maureen O'Brien was stunning. I don't think I've seen that one, Raymond.
These things is you've just seen how bad they can be, and as I've always said, if you're not going to do them properly and live up to the story and the legacy of the actual show and honor the original episodes, don't bother doing them. And I think the whole piece about it now is just to wait and let fans shut up. Just shut up and let the business get done. They haven't even got the main series back on screen yet, and people are crying out for spin-offs and animations. Shut up. Let them get the job done. Let them get the businesses done, and let them grow this thing at the pace they need to grow it. Because otherwise, you're going to get cheap tat like we've had force-fed to us over the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's nonsense. Just chill
Jack
out.
Thursby says, JT, very generous. It's some of the worst current day animation I've ever seen. God, that's very damning.
It's true.
Didn't
It's
they,
true.
didn't they go to a fan? Didn't they copy a fan's or ask the fan for the Peter?
It was a
Colby's
fan.
one?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Time Scales mentions that in the chat. Yeah, they saw it on YouTube.
Yeah, well, Stephen Moffat saw it on YouTube and then invited the gentleman in, and the BBC graphics department worked with him to modify his original YouTube show. You can still see that, but yeah. I mean, we all know that. I mean, that's why Lucasfilm was so popular, because Lucas himself said, fans, get in here. We'll train you. We'll work you out. We'll pay you. And give you a job. And that's where, to an extent, I think everybody else needs to follow with talent that they notice.
BBC would never do that, would they? Maybe Bad Wolf could, but the BBC wouldn't do that.
Studios could be open to it. BBC Studios are a commercial arm. They're there to make money. They've got to get over this whole network of the old boys club that's going on, which is, as I said, just there. It's still continuing now, but they've got to start looking at bigger pictures. And I think now you've got Bad Wolf, you've got Disney, and you've got other wells. I think that could possibly happen.
It is just so frustrating, because John Yulden says in the chat, and he's absolutely right. You know, we need some fresh talents to be coming in here. We really desperately need fresh talent.
We really do, and that's why Doctor Who, back in the original proper series between 63 and 89, which was celebrating the 60th anniversary of this year, that's why it was successful, because fresh minds would come in. I mean, look at the difference between Barry and Philip.
Yeah,
that's a prime example, huge example.
Peter Harrington raises a point here, Simon. It should be the best quality. We've bought so much over the years. We deserve top quality. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it's not just even that. I'm thinking from a perspective of somebody like me, who this could be the first time they see these stories. Like for the older fans, they've already got their memories of either.
No, not necessarily.
A lot of people.
No, not necessarily, Charlotte, because a lot of us who were, I mean, look at all of us. We were born from the late 60s onwards, so we haven't seen them because they've never existed.
It's true.
That's true. But I'm just then I'll make it more general. Then this could be a lot of fans' first viewing of these stories, and if it's a first viewing, you don't want to be sat there going, "God, that animation looks bad." Like you don't want that for your first viewing of a Doctor Who classic story.
That's excellent.
Luckily, though, it's only been fans that have been buying that nonsense. I mean, I wait till it's for $3.99 in the bargain bin in HMV. Thank you very much, and then I might buy it, or I might get a free copy. But it's a case of like thankfully it hasn't been seen by the public, because imagine if you put on one of those things right now, the public would just go switch off and go and watch Bluey or whatever.
I recently watched Evil. That was a good one, but I've seen other ones which are bad, and it does affect how you view that story. You try not to have it affect you because it's still distorted. But
and also following on from that, Charlotte, I think if you can't do these animations right, you just shouldn't do them. You might as well just stay at the screen, stay at the screenshots, and do a telesnaps reconstruction. Do that well, and don't bother with the animation. And even with things like the Macra Terror, where they just dropped one scene because they couldn't do it right. So just don't just drop the whole thing then and leave it as a telesnaps reconstruction. Either do it properly or just don't bother. I don't get it.
Because they are now at a point where telesnap versions can also be remastered. They can be used creatively to pan in and pan out. I have seen, that telesnaps have come such a long way with remastering, using artificial intelligences now to sharpen things up. Not add artifacts, but just to sharpen them up.
I don't get it all. I think it says an awful lot that it's always about the visual. In the 90s and into the 2000s, before the show was coming back, and when the BBC put out on the audio, they put CDs out there with audios. Some of them are still available now on download. And people were going on about, certain audios that are around us now and how wonderful they are. Well, go and listen to proper Doctor Who that was screened in the 60s on audio and use your imagination to fill in the box. What's wrong with that? Why have we lost the art to do that? It's always got to be visual. It's very lazy in a sense.
Well, it's not us that's lost the art of that. It's the new generation that's lost the art. So we're a dying breed, aren't we? So
Yeah, it's
I
really
must-
frightening because they should be able to imagine things properly and not be force-fed visual all the time.
Where do you stand on elements like this? John Yulden's in the chat. He mentions the whole they changed the ethnicity of the monks in the animated Abominable Snowmen, and that annoyed John.
Yeah.
If they had a problem with it, they should have left it alone.
Yeah.
You with them, Charlotte?
Yeah, leave it alone. I'm very much
Me
like
too.
that. If something was written in a time period, if it's got actors that would have been cast at that time period, you don't change it because you suddenly feel like, oh, I don't like that bit. Because it affects. It's not authentic anymore to me.
Yeah.
It really affects the authenticity.
Simon?
I think the additional problem to all of this is we've got to ask the question, why are we making these animations? Are we making them to do a true representation of what was on the screen back in the 60s that we've now lost? Or are we just doing some alternative version that even has posters in the backs of shots that relate to stuff that was never... Oh, come on, guys. What are you doing? Are these fan videos or are they commercial?
Exactly. I think it's a waste of time and indulgence, a waste of those resources and man hours. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Another example.
We should be sticking with the original, what was originally transmitted, and try to recreate that. Or we just try to do some different version of it. But then what's the point in that case? We might as well just do the telesnaps. I don't get it.
It's exactly another case of why you shouldn't necessarily be having fans producing these sorts of things, because Gary was wrong to do that in the last one. He was totally right. That was his decision.
Because Gary Russell leading that project, wasn't it?
It was his decision because he thought it was racist. Grow up, you silly little tart. Grow up, because it's just nonsense. You are supposed to be a fan. Treat it like a fan does. You give it us as a representation of how it was, because that's how it was in the 60s. And it's as simple as that, because you can just see it now. If there was some sort of miracle and they unearthed these episodes that had lost, they'd be cancelled immedially, like they tried to do with Talons a few years ago.
Well, it's an interesting
I agree with you, and it's not racist at all. I understand the instinct and a kind of will from a creative to kind of update something and to evoke that story and to serve that story in a different way. But I believe, as you believe, Simon, that in the case of this line of merchandise, what the public want, what the people who are parting with their money want, such as Peter was saying earlier on, is the best possible product. And that does mean an animated substitute that is as closest to the original experience watching that show as is possible. I think if you were to ask for a show of hands, people would go for that option.
That surely is the point of these. Otherwise, we are being very, very self-indulgent, and we're making fan versions and we're reinterpreting. And also, I just want to answer Archer Colin, your question in the chat. What is a telesnap? We are assuming that everybody knows what we're talking about here, and simply a telesnap is something that a photographer took of literally the television screen back in the 60s. Sometimes there were fans that were taking these shots. Sometimes there were professionals that would take shots on behalf of the actors within the show for them to use for professional purposes, because of course the show was only ever going to be shown once. And so fortunately we're lucky in that every single missing episode exists in some form with at least a number of telesnaps, literally snaps taken of the television. And so then a telesnaps reconstruction, and you'll find them on loads of the DVDs and Blu-rays, are literally they assemble these shots together as best they can, put it with the soundtrack, and that to me does the job as well as anything. Can cost a fraction of the animation.
They were also produced, they were brought to us as fans through Doctor Who Monthly, as it was back then, through the 90s. And it was fascinating to see it, because that's the first time any of us had actually seen anything from these episodes, even though they were negative stills, as it were. They were photographs. But they're wonderful. And that's where they should be getting their, from the script, from these pictures, from the episode. If there are any episodes that are existing around it, you continue that. You don't mess with them. And what got me about this as well is fans buy them. Don't buy them. Wait till they're in the bargain bucket bin and let them lose money on it, because that's sending a clear signal.
I know.
What we want.
You're right, but in many ways you can't blame fans for wanting to buy, because people want. I want to see some of this stuff again. And
but you're not seeing it as it should be. That's the point. So
I
why
know,
are you
I know, but that's the point I'm making.
We're-
You're right, of course,
we
and I
often hear
agree.
the
But there are
mantra.
people that just, I can't blame people for wanting to buy it because it's the only form that
I think everybody has the ability to wait 7 to 8 months until it's in the
We
bargain bin.
do, and you know this as well as anybody, JT, as the merchandise guy. We hear the mantra all the time. If you care, support the official releases.
I don't hear that mantra at all, and I don't agree with it. If it's crap, wait, just be patient, learn patience, learn the art of it, wait 6 months. If a product does not sell, it gets reduced. Save yourself some money, especially right now. Wait a few months, and it will come down. And there are sales. We're going through some sales now. I managed to get, what is it? Peter Capaldi's last season. $19.99 on Blu-ray. I got that from a certain website in the sale. I've waited all this time to get it because I refused to pay $29.99 or $34.99 as they wanted for that season because it's not one of my favorites. $19.99. I thought I'll have that and I'll finish the collection of Reboot Who with that season. Patience. Come on, people, learn it.
This is something that a lot of people feel very, very passionate about. Because the brand means so much to us and experiencing these stories the best way we can. Obviously, we'd love to. I don't think I've ever met a single fan who doesn't say, I'd love to be able to watch every single episode. And it's, I dream of the day they'll all be available in one form or another or another. And it's understandable. It's understandable that people pin their hopes on one of a number of options. And I think most people do want to support the brand because if I back this with my money, that's my best chance, Ian, of being able to see that thing or achieve that end goal of having every gap on the shelf filled.
You never know that those episodes might exist in Nigeria somewhere or some place and somebody might find them anymore. Yeah,
I've got something else to get into now. But unfortunately, that's Charlotte's got to bounce first, though, haven't you, Charlotte? It's been lovely to catch up with you. 2023 off to a flying start. Hope we can have you back next week.
Oh, yes, you've got me now. So I'll see you guys next week.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah,
Lovely
Charlotte.
to see you again. We'll
See
see
you
you
next
next time. Bye-bye. Yeah, as if that wasn't a contentious enough subject. I'm hearing conflicting rumours, everybody, specifically about this exclusive from the Mirror. The other rumours are that the Smugglers, we were talking about the Smugglers and the Underwater Menace both being animated, that story that the Mirror have gone with isn't the full story or isn't an accurate story. Other rumours, growing rumours, suggest that what has actually happened is that the Smugglers, all 4 episodes of the Smugglers have been missing from the BBC archives for best part of 50 years, haven't they? But the rumours are currently that all 4 episodes of the Smugglers have been found and that they're actually being worked on, being restored in secret and being readied for release for the anniversary, much in the same way as those 2 stories were back in 2013. We haven't heard confirmation of the animated stories yet. They do seem like strange choices. Why the Smugglers?
Not really. They were down to be done anyway, so they've come from the original list of what was coming next.
This, I don't know if you're aware of this. Great many people are going with this rumor that the Smugglers may have been found. So have any of you heard anything? And what do you think, Simon?
No, I have to be honest. You told me about this the other day, and it was the first I had heard about it. I haven't heard any rumours whatsoever. These rumours just never go away, do they, about missing episodes being found? I mean, we talked about it recently, and I remember saying, and I still stand by this, that we're rapidly getting to the point where we're not going to be finding any episodes on film. Simply because the film, if it's been locked in a vault in Nigeria somewhere, it will have deteriorated too badly by now. So that suggests that if there are episodes that are being found, they're being found on tape, which suggests that they're episodes that have been kicking around in maybe somebody's private collection for a while. Don't know. It's intriguing, and of course I hope it's correct. And in the case of the Smugglers, you know what? It's one of those stories that I really couldn't probably be much less interested in the Smugglers if I tried. And so of all of the stories to come back, if one is going to come back, it would be quite low on my list. I have to be brutally honest. But whatever. A return story is a return story, and these rumors keep on coming around every year or so. We get this. They were going to do an animated, but that seems to have come off the roster. So does that mean they've actually found the episodes and we're now we hear this all the time? I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Of course I am. We all are.
Will Hadcroft's watching in the chat. Hi, Will. Good to see you, mate. He says it's possible that something was found and held back for the anniversary.
Yeah, it could be.
That's what if I was preparing the anniversary of this show. If it's been a long time, over 10 years since anything was found. I think this is the longest gap ever between missing episodes being found. I know it sounds cruel in one respect, but I probably would hang on to them, Ian.
I would too.
Until you release them with a fanfare like this in a big anniversary year.
What Simon was saying about if they did find film and it was in a horrible state, and let's face it, if they found that would be in a terrible state. They still can bring it back. They still can. They'll put it in the machine. The technology they've got today, they can bring it back.
Morecambe and Wise special that they found 6 or 7 years ago, the thing was dripping. The film stock itself. Did you see the state of it?
Yeah, I did.
And somehow they have managed not just to make it watchable, but work with the footage as well. Yeah. And that thing was broadcast on television last year, and you could watch it. It was audible, the sound, everything. It's real wizards.
Look at the technology they've got these days. I mean, they brought back all those old films of the Beatles, didn't they? I mean, what's his name? The guy who did Lord of the Rings. He was in charge of that. The technology is there to, yes. Peter Jackson was in charge of that, and he brought back all those old films that were shot on Super 16, 8mm. And if you look at it on Disney, it was like it was shot yesterday. So the technology is there. They did it with Star Wars as well. The original film from Star Wars is 77, and that was falling apart. George Lucas brought it back, and that was how many years ago? 20 years ago. So they can do something. They can do something, but I'm with Simon. If they do find that, it's gonna be don't touch it. It's gonna fall apart.
Vanessa Law's asking in the chat, why would a Telesnap archive be on sale with Doctor Who magazine?
The features. It was a regular feature.
For the 90s, wasn't it, when they were trying to keep the magazine going?
Yeah,
the inserts of them.
Yeah, it wasn't. To make clear, it wasn't a separate thing that they put out for sale or anything like that, or a separate. No, it was just features within the magazine. Each month they've got a lot of pages to fill in. Each month these telesnaps would get printed in an article with a little bit of description about what you were seeing on screen at the time, what was happening.
Some of the colorized clips I've seen on YouTube, I would definitely buy it if that came out. Wow.
This is what I was going to say here now. I don't believe any fan rumor because it's a fan sitting in a bedroom probably coming up with all this nonsense. I can't see the smugglers having been held over just because it happens to be the 60th anniversary year, because it's money. If they have episodes and they get them back, get them out as soon as you can, because it makes money. And by God, they need revenue for merchandise right now. So it would be a big seller. So you get it out. It doesn't matter what year it is. Just get it out and sell it and flog it, and we'd all buy it. We would all buy it to see something like that, because it's television history, not just Doctor Who history. It was the first time we went on location, etc., etc. Huge big episodes there, really. But over Christmas, UK Gold showed Tony Hancock in colour, and I know that Clayton Hickman was involved with the colorization process there. Now, on this show before, we've talked about the colorization of original Doctor Who. I was so impressed by the Tony Hancock half-hour colorization. That's probably where we're going to be stopping next.
Yeah, I hope so.
You've said before, Ian, because the colorization there, and Clayton and his team have done a beautiful job. I think that's going to be coming sooner rather than later as we move into this. I don't think it'll be this year because it takes ages for them to do, but I think, again, broadcast quality. So we might be able to see Hartnell and Troughton in colour on television.
I'll tell you what's interesting. When they colorized, I saw they colorized a couple of clips from Troughton era. And because the quality of Troughton era wasn't so good, and we're dealing with it looks more like film than the ones that they do in colorized. Because
that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Really
the
good.
gradient. Yeah.
Because as you've just said, the Tony Hancock's 2 episodes of Hancock's Half Hour have been colorized. They premiered about a week and a half ago, and I haven't seen them yet. But they certainly look. I mean, the screenshots do look beautiful, painstaking, evocative of the era. It's incredible that this kind of thing is possible now. JT, have you seen them?
I have, yeah, and I thought they were lovely. I mean, you can see there as well. I love the fact that they've actually used 1960s colours that were popular in fashion right then. And I'm sure they will have had possibly some colour photographs to refer to. But you've got the green of the wall, which is the exact green that we inherited when we went to school from the 60s. You know, you've got the off-tone blues, the browns, the beiges. That was all coming in. That's where we got to in the 70s when it was all brown, basically. And it's just those lovely, lovely colours. And when I saw them, I thought of you, Mega Geeky, because I thought he's right. That's the next stop. That's where we're going to go. They're bringing the whole lot out again on Blu-ray as colour, and then they'll broadcast the things in the future in the Whooniverse, and you'll be able to see Hartnell and Troughton in colour.
I've been saying for literally years that they need to start colorizing.
I would buy them in a heartbeat. If the first season of this what's his name, Hartnell, first season Hartnell comes out and whatever's left, I guess, in color, I would buy them in a heartbeat.
You know what I would do, Ian? And if BBC Studios, you can have this for free. I would bring out the Blu-rays, individual stories like we used to do before, but I would have the colorized version with the original black and white on individuals again, because we will buy them all again.
Yeah, what's interesting about this technology is that what's missing, like say for instance, it's an analog picture, and it obviously analog's made out of lines and stuff like that. The lines that are missing, the technology now can replace them and recreate those lines that are missing.
That's what they've done in these episodes. That's what they've done in these Hancock episodes. They haven't just colorized them; they've cleaned them up, and they're beautiful. Watch them. They're on UK Gold. I'm sure they must be repeating them. They're stunning. I was sold immediately. I thought, yep, this is it. This is where we're going.
It is where we're going. I hope they do it. It
does stand to reason, doesn't it? Particularly with Clayton Hickman being involved more often than not. I mean, I remember, we're talking about the animated Doctor Who's. Before those animated Doctor Who's, the same people worked on a couple of animations again for UK Gold of Dad's Army episodes. Yes. So again, it was like, this is no slight on Dad's Army. It's a brilliant show. I love it to bits. But there's a history of them testing this stuff out on comedy shows where there tends to be 3, maybe 4 sets tops per episode of a comedy, and then taking it forward onto something which tends to be a little bit more complicated, like Doctor Who, doesn't it, Simon? There's much more changes of scenery and things like that, and therefore more work involved, more masks and things.
Well, there is more work involved, but I mean, to answer your question, JT, from earlier, apparently they, on some of the, at least I think on one of those Hancock episodes, they didn't have any colour reference at all.
Oh wow!
So it was all made completely from scratch, and from what I understand, it was a case of they coloured so many, a certain number of frames. They recoloured a certain number of frames, and then the computer fills in the gaps. Because you can't physically colorize every single frame, you would be here forever. It's taking certain ones and then letting the computer do its magic to fill in the gaps.
And again, this is taking us back to what we were talking about before, because it shows you that somewhere along the line, somebody has noticed what Clayton's been doing for God knows how many years now with Doctor Who stills and employed him, and that's fantastic. And what a great way to do it with the legend that is Hancock. With those, and I'm sure any Hancock fans that are out there now must have been delighted. I know I was so impressed with it. I just thought, yes, beautiful. Well done, Clayton.
It is. I mean, it just looks beautiful. I inquired. I tweeted at Clayton, "Are these available? Are they going to be coming to Blu-ray?" And he didn't know. So because I haven't got UK Gold, so I can't watch them. But that's the other
one though with Hancock, isn't it? Because a lot of his fans, I would think are gone. Probably.
Yeah.
So there's no real fan base out there. Whereas with Doctor Who, you've got an in-target market.
We're talking about episodes of sitcoms that were first broadcast in 1956, 57, something like that, with Frank Thornton, June Whitfield, all these people.
Proper comics that you're not allowed today.
But that's the second. That's the second half of the rumor you see, and that rumor that an exclusive that the Mirror had got. They do get into it in that the BBC plan, I've got the exact words here, the BBC bosses plan to colorise certain stories from the Hartnell and Troughton era for broadcast again during the anniversary year. This is likely to include the very first story, An Unearthly Child. So it's just one sentence, but it puts it out there. I don't know if I believe they could be working on multiple stories like that. But for the anniversary, if there was a story you were going to colorize, it would at least be the very first episode.
Yeah.
I don't know about all 4 parts of that story. What do you think, Simon? Any truth in that one?
I think colorizing that first episode would be a genius thing to do for the 60th anniversary.
We've spoken about it, haven't we, multiple times on Type 40 when we've spoken to Kieran Hyman and
again, we've got to take it all with a pinch of salt. We know that these journalists watch things like we are doing now, and they troll through Facebook and Twitter, and they look at fans and their wish list, and they turn it into a story. You know, I mean, for them to have done this, they must have started it last year, and not one of us has heard anything about it.
Well, but that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, simply because things do manage to get it in under the radar.
Some things do, but something that big, I think I would have heard about.
I don't know. I mean, when you think about that they got the the rediscovery of the Web of Fear and Enemy of the World under the radar, nobody knew about that.
Well, they did. That was all over. That was all over Gallifrey Base about 5 years before, and they did sit on it and they worked on it for years. They negotiated and worked on it. That's why it wouldn't. I don't think it's impossible that the smugglers could exist. I don't think it's impossible that they would sit on it.
Nothing's impossible. I would use the word improbable.
Yeah, it's all improbable. I mean, most things that involve classic Doctor Who are pretty improbable.
Well,
the Morecambe Wise thing was pretty improbable. I mean, we're now looking at images like how many times have we talked about colorizing? You converted me to colorizing as a cause, Simon.
Ages ago.
Even 3 years ago, then I think we first talked about that about 3 years ago. We talked to Richard and Kieran about that and various other people. But even then, it was in a rudimentary form compared to what people are doing now. We've just got these images here from Stuart Manning on the left and from Erin Challenger there on the right of the first and second Doctors. They're getting closer, millimetre by millimetre, to.
Is this stills,
indistinguishable? Dan? Yeah, these are stills.
But you know you can do that on Photoshop now. In the latest Photoshop, there's a program in there, an AI program within Photoshop that you can just put a black and white photograph in there. Even get rid of the scratches and the blips on there and colorize it within a couple of seconds.
I mean,
so now you can do it.
As well. I mean, the technology is changing every single day, and it's getting better and better and better. And if they're going to do this and sell it to us, then I want it to be the top quality. I don't want something that's going to age and something better comes out after it. You know?
No. And also,
that's the problem, though. That's the problem with something that moves on. That's the problem with something that moves on incrementally like this. Animation is the same to some extent, but they can obviously that's a lot of that is creative. Here is literally trying to get to the point where we can get what was originally broadcast. I mean, look at what's been possible with the work that's been constantly put into various versions of the Silurians and stories like that. Then they first came out on VHS, and the Demons, for example, when they first painted up and shown on BBC Two 30 years ago in that painted up form, 3 decades on now. Look at how they look now. And now we're looking at these images here. These are what individuals have done, not a dedicated unit of people. These are just individuals working on their own and popping them up on YouTube or social media. Admittedly, they're just screenshots, but some do go in and work on 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whole scenes.
Dan, it might be easier for them to basically upgrade something like the 5 Doctors for the anniversary, because that's far more easier with the technology you've got now than to colorize the first episode of Doctor Who, even though I would love to see the colorized version of the first episode of Doctor Who. But
isn't this a better use of resources, though? Because the 5 Doctors already exist. It's been messed around.
No, it doesn't exist in a Blu-ray version as far as I know.
It's on the way. It has been.
I was going to say it will do undoubtedly by the end of the year. I don't think we're in any doubt at all that season 20 will be out.
It's on the way.
Right. Gotcha.
Will Hadcroft agrees. The very first episode, at least, should be colorized.
Fantastic.
Cybermat Strike says episode 1 colorized would be great for the 60th. I think people are kind of in love with this idea. It'd be a shame if it didn't happen.
That's the BBC we're talking about here.
Jack Thursby says I'm more excited about projects involving Classic Who than what's coming next.
Me too, Jack. Me too.
I mean, where we broadcast it, 1963, episode 1 of Doctor Who. It's been relegated to BBC Two at very odd times in the past. It wouldn't go on BBC One. It might go on.
It wouldn't.
It might go on. We don't have many BBC channels left, as far as I remember. We only got BBC Two and BBC One left.
They might even put it out on BBC Four. It's the kind of thing that BBC Four would put out. But of course, then what we've got to remember is that would then eventually go on the season 1 Blu-ray box set. So it's going to have once they've actually got the work done, it will have a good shelf life to it.
There's a lot of money
Daleks in colour. Yes, please, says Richard Brooks.
Daleks, the first Dalek story now. I mean, that in many ways, it's going to be sacrilegious to say, but in many ways, that would be better than An Earthly Child, I think. To put
I would rather see the Daleks personally.
Yeah,
it's more iconic, isn't it? And it would get more of the casual audience, which may justify any expense in making it.
It's also the fact that if you're going to do, I keep saying this is the 60th anniversary of the character of the Doctor, the TARDIS, and the Daleks. So why aren't all three ever celebrated? That's what I would like to see in one story, one of these years. Something, one of these every 10-year things. They've always missed it. It's not just the character of the Doctor; it's the TARDIS and the Daleks as well. I'd like to see them all in one big anniversary episode, one celebrating their anniversary eventually.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
People are smitten with this idea of colorizing the first episode in the live.
Excited! It might happen. If it does happen, we were the first ones to say it right here.
We weren't in this case. It was the mirror.
Damn it.
It's going to happen.
I hope so.
Well, it's money. It's more money, Ian, isn't it?
I am not in any doubt whatsoever. I'll go on record now as saying at some point they will start colorizing black and white Doctor Who, and it will come out on Blu-ray. I'm not in any.
And I will buy every episode. I will buy every episode.
They'll all be expensive, and they're going to earn millions. They will. They'll earn because we will all go back. It'll be like VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. Again, we will just go and get those original episodes because we want them. Fortunately, there's not that many. Really, there's not that many stories.
I've got to admit, though, with my John Pertwee collection, I'd rather watch the updated version with the updated effects than the original version.
Really?
I would personally. Personally.
I mean,
I always go for that.
I just thought they look a bit contrived.
I don't know. I just think they look better. Anyway, that's just me.
You know what? I'm just grateful for the fact that they're both on those discs. Wherever we sit on that line, because I understand both arguments, and depending on which mood I'm in, depends on which version I watch. When I'm put in situations like that, and I'm just really grateful that I've got the choice. That
we have to be grateful as fans because those collection box sets are the best the BBC produce. BBC Studios, they don't do it for any other TV show going. They are cleaned up. They have so many extras on them. They're presented nicely. They're thought about because of those team of that particular team who churned them out are brilliant. But no other BBC show gets that treatment. So we're very lucky.
Yep, you're right.
So what you think of all of this? The Smugglers and the Underwater Menace as animated adventures. Would you buy that? Or are you going to wait and find out who's animating it?
Smugglers. Spin-off. It's coming to you soon.
Has the Smugglers been found? Are we wasting our time talking about that when it's possible that the Smugglers has been found? The actual episodes. Have you heard anything? Is it around at Ian's place?
The episode is not Denmark, the Oneiden line.
Oh God, yeah.
Let us know what you think about all of that in the live chat. Classic Doctor Who does, in my view, seem more alive than it has probably since it originally wrapped up in 1989, and particularly the romance of the black and white era. I think it's very seductive to discerning viewers. Anybody who says they don't watch anything because it's in black and white, they get short shift from me. But I do understand. I do understand the power of colorization. I'm wowed by what's possible just with people who, just as you said there, JT, can pop this stuff up on YouTube or social media. Amazing. And we can all feast our eyes on it, Ian. It is wonderful. Yeah. Let us know what you think of it all in the comments section, or you can listen to him.
Greetings, I am K9. If you have an inquiry and Siri or Alexa cannot help, maybe I can. Have you ever wondered if time travel is possible? Or what can a sonic screwdriver do? I may have the answers. Please leave your questions in the comments below.
You know, if there's something that we can be certain of, everybody. It's that Doctor Who returns to televisions, to BBC One HD and Disney Plus everywhere else. It's going to take a bit of getting used to, isn't it? In November, for 3-hour-long specials led by David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Here on Type 40 Live, we covered the whole extraordinary rescue mission to save Doctor Who from the very earliest rumours, and we've got a hit rate that frankly no one else can match on getting you the correct information, the dates and the people involved over the last 18 months or so. Now, these episodes were all filmed over the spring and summer of 2022, so they're long locked. Who knows who else is involved? We can only guess. There was no new Doctor Who special on over the whole of Christmas and New Year for 2022. That was the first time in 17 years. But the showrunner and head writer offered a few words of consolation and sort of zhuzhed us up, really, for what's to come. We got this statement here. So we've got, if you thought the appearance of David Tennant was a shock, we've got plenty more surprises on the way. The path to Ncuti's 15th Doctor is laden with mystery, horror, robots, puppets, danger and fun. How is it connected to the return of the wonderful Donna Noble? How, what, why? We're giving you a year to speculate, and then all hell lets loose. 3 episodes will transmit in November 2023 as Doctor Who celebrates its 60th anniversary. Now, that was nice of him to say, wasn't it? But then on Christmas Day, they dropped a full trailer, didn't they? As a worldwide premiere, as boomed out by Neil Patrick Harris, playing, I think we have it confirmed now that he's playing the Celestial Toymaker in at least one of these specials. I think he's probably across all 3. But there he was, and we got that whole minute's worth of brand new Doctor Who on Christmas Day. So I know what Ian thought about it. I think we had a bit of a chat, didn't we, on Type 40 Extra about that. I've no idea what you thought, JT and Simon. So here we are at last. I get to ask your opinions. That trailer, did it come as a shock to you, JT? And when you saw it, what did you think of it? Was it what you were looking for?
It didn't come as a shock, because I actually said on this show they were going to do it and drop it on Christmas Day. Because I'd been told there's a snippet coming on Christmas Day. So I said on this very show, if you want to go back and look at them, people, there it is, another news item. That was before, so it wasn't a shock. I watched it after the event, because of course I don't watch the BBC, and it appeared on YouTube and all the socials very, very quickly.
On YouTube right away,
I mean, what can you say? I mean, it was 60 seconds of bang, 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 and whistles. And I thought it looked in that 60 seconds. I thought, well, that's the best thing I've seen since probably 2008.
Exactly. Doctor Who. If it made you feel that Doctor Who's back, then
it didn't. It didn't, because for me, it's not. It's not. I mean, Doctor Who for me is 63 to 89. But the fact that I haven't watched Doctor Who since Capaldi's very last episode, not the Christmas one, but the one before with the Cybermen, I'm more distant than you lot are from Doctor Who, because I just haven't watched it. I haven't been engaged. And where I am now is when I want to watch Doctor Who, I'll go back and watch 63 to 89 because that's Doctor Who. With the view I've got now, I look at the reboot Who. It's supposed to be a continuation, and I've said this before, but for me it's not, because all roads lead to the bastardization of the show coming later on in its run. So I'm more distant. So I don't feel it's Doctor Who coming back, although I recognize the lead players. I will have to wait till November to sit down, watch it, and decide if I think it's Doctor Who or not.
So is that something that that response that you had? Because obviously we were ferociously excited about this last year. We were speculating about Julie Gardner and Bad Wolf before absolutely everybody else. So here we watched it come together. We saw the birthed out of the lockdown era of Doctor Who, where basically the BBC, who legally they own Doctor Who, completely dropped the ball on it. The fans took over and through Twitter organised tweet-alongs led by Emily Cook, which brought in lots of creatives. The Lockdown Who project regenerated Doctor Who itself in time. We talked about it every step of the way on here. You were as excited as everybody else, JT. So here we have this first minute and all these sights and these sounds. I mean, in my view, this looks like exactly what I want the next iteration of Doctor Who to look and feel like. I feel production values wise, it's a big step up, certainly from anything that's been done on the show in the last 5 years. I think it's probably besting the look of it, as one would hope, besting the look of everything that Stephen Moffat was doing when he was on it, when it had that growing presence in the States. To me, this looks like they've wound back, but it's going several steps on, and it helps that we've got an iconic. You talked about Tom Baker earlier on, and I agree, Tom Baker is the iconic Doctor, but there are two others, in my view, that are snapping at his heels. The late, great William Hartnell is one, and this man is the other. David Tennant is a massive icon in this role, and here he's back.
What you're saying there, though, with respect, is all superficial. Yes, it looks good.
Yeah, it's a trailer. It's a visual thing. All we've got is surface value.
That's all it is, and it looks good. It does. It looks good. I'm not denying that. But the proof in the pudding will be the story, and that's what Doctor Who in the reboot has lost, because it's so busy trying to get things in within 45 minutes or 1 hour. It's forgot story.
But I'm not asking you to judge the story. I'm asking you to judge
this.
It's slick. It's
you're
slick.
Saying with that 60 seconds, you thought Doctor Who was back. I don't, because for me, that 60 seconds wasn't enough to say this is Doctor Who. I need to see the full episodes before I can actually answer that question, and I need to see through a story, not the visual.
But we have those scenes. Dave Gibbons' creations brought to the screen is what. There's an enormous charm in that. Beat the Meep is there. So are other characters from the Starbase. So we've got that. We've got the Doctor. We've got Donna. We've got the supporting cast. It's very funny in relative terms. I mean, the skinny man line infuriated some people who really need to get a life on Twitter. But the energy surrounding it. This was massively healing. And the people who saw this on Christmas Day, the normies, they absolutely lapped this thing up. I get the impression that I'm the only one who's keen now, but I certainly wasn't at the time. Doctor Who fandom was alight with this over the Christmas period.
Yeah, fandom probably was, because they'd just been fed something.
And more importantly, though, the general public, this is exactly as you said earlier on, this is what they want. Whether the 3 episodes deliver on this and on that connection, that latent love of this show that is still there with the British public, this was a channel. This was the first few sparks of this, in my opinion. Obviously, you're having a different experience with it, and I do understand. Well,
considering that the ratings for BBC when it was shown on Christmas Day were atrocious, and it was only 5.1 million. No, I don't agree that the British public would have seen it, because I don't think they do. The big question for the British public will be the publicity that comes in October.
It did brilliantly. Like me, though. I mean, I saw this down at, my mother was watching Strictly Come Dancing or whatever. It came on then.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
But I have watched this several times on YouTube since. The YouTube views on this trailer are massive. I mean, certainly within 24 hours. You know, we talked about it before. It had millions of views.
And watch it. I mean, I've seen it 20 times now.
But they will have shared it to but they will have shared it to other people. It's fans. It's huge. Not that many fans to be that big. We were talking tens of millions.
Come on, Dan. Around the world, there are millions of Doctor Who fans who would have watched that thing over and over. It's 60 seconds. They would have watched it for an hour.
We're judging it against every single Doctor Who item that's on the official BBC channels. That must count for something. That, in relative terms, I'm not saying it's like the trailer for Avatar or Avengers Endgame, but in relative terms, surely this was impressive that it would do that.
No, I'm not impressed because it's not the public.
Well, all I'll say is Vanessa said in the comment in the chat when you first mentioned it, Dan, Simon's making that face. And that's because I was dreading you asking me this question. I can't remember a thing about that trailer.
You drunk on Christmas night?
One single thing. And I have watched it, and I can't remember a single solitary thing. Nothing. So that to me probably tells me I'm not actually that excited about these forthcoming specials.
Were you excited? Were you excited at the time? Were you relieved to see?
No.
That's the Doctor.
No, Dan.
That's the hero.
No, Dan, you know I wasn't, because I'm dead against bringing David Tennant back.
Yeah,
it's still
but it has.
I know why.
That's what they've done, and there he is. You know.
No, but I don't want to. I'm sorry.
I know. I understand. But the fact is that this is what. The fact is that this is what is happening. This is what's happening as a starting point for the anniversary.
I agree.
This is by no means all of the picture.
I know, but I don't want any of the picture. I don't want it. I'm really sorry. I can't be excited about something I don't want, and I'm against it. But to put this in context, to be fair, again, similar to what Ian was saying earlier on, am I going to watch them? Of course I am. And I really hope that I come back in a few months' time and say, do you know what? That was the best Doctor Who I've seen in a long time. It was brilliant. I was wrong. Fantastic, loved it.
That's going to be the brilliant thing, Simon. If we come back in November after those 3 episodes and we say this was brilliant and that was fantastic, that's going to be wonderful.
And I will do that.
That's where we're going to be. I mean, Dan, we're not saying here we're in denial that this is actually happening. We know it's happening.
I wish it wasn't.
I understand where
I feel that we should move the discussion on, and generally speaking, not on this show necessarily, but should they have done this? Should they have done that? We have had those conversations already. If you follow me, so I wasn't trying to be rude. So
no, but okay, so fair enough. Moving it on. Good point, Dan. This is what I would say, because I can't remember a single thing about it, and I can't even remember seeing Beep the Meep in it, and I'd think I'd remember that, but I can't.
Yeah, he is there.
So as a result, if I can't remember anything about it, the general public certainly won't remember anything whatsoever about this, and they'll have forgotten about it come November anyway. So I'm not even sure it was worth actually showing this on Christmas Day 11 months before.
Treat, though. I mean, you know what the production team are like. I mean, I heard about that they were going to do it in November, and I said on the show that they were going to be dropping something on Christmas Day and everybody should watch, because it was just a Christmas present, just like the inclusion in the Cybermen Christmas Day episode. What was that called with David Morrissey? Can't remember now.
Doctor.
That one. The Christmas present in that episode was the previous faces of the Doctor. That was the Christmas present. So that's all it was. It was just a pack. It was supposedly, I guess, it was for the fans.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I'm not against doing it.
But the main thing will be the big promotion they've got coming up from October into November. That's the big thing, because not only is that going to be for the fans who we will just watch it anyway, but the British public have to come back at that point, and there's going to be loads going on at that point to bring in these 3 episodes, and that's where we'll be able to have some interesting conversations to see how the reaction is, what the stories are like, how it was, and those 2 elements there, those 2 months are going to be quite important.
It did come across as very much Russell T. Doctor Who. I mean, there was no hint of the what's his name, the other guy, the other showrunner, I can't remember his name. There's no hint of Moff's touches at all in it. It came across very much as Russell T's Doctor Who. So I was a bit disappointed with that. I thought I'd see something new. I really hate it when they go back. They've done something to this character, Donna Noble, and it was tragic and it was sad. And after the episode, you felt sad, but you were rejoiced that she was still living and stuff like that. And then now they've gone back and going to reverse everything that I felt great about that episode.
There's a lot of people that are saying and agreeing with you on that, Ian, in the fandom, by saying, well, Donna's story was closed and it was closed well. And now they're going back to lift the lid, and she's got another life coming up, as we can possibly assume, because she recognizes him in that 60 seconds and she doesn't die. So it's going to be interesting how they get around that element. But there's a lot of fans agreeing with you by saying they've now ruined that story. But it depends. Could this be an alternative? Again, we've got a story that comes up in November.
Again, we can't tell until we actually see it. And this is why But I think the other thing...
Maybe the out on it is that he isn't the Doctor from the past. He's this new regenerate, even though he looks like David.
Yes, he's a brand new incarnation.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe that's the out. Maybe that's the out clause for her not dying.
I think the other problem I personally have with this is that since 2005, we've been assaulted by these kind of really flashy cinema style trailers, and to be brutally honest, I don't think I've ever seen an actual episode of modern Doctor Who that has lived up to the trailer.
Correct.
So actually, in many ways, I actually don't want to see these trailers, because it actually does make it look better than it ever appears on screen.
I know it's been a long time.
I'm disappointed as a result after seeing the trailer. You can make anything look good in a 60-second trailer. You could make Sesame Street look like a
Well, they did
cinema.
that.
And this is very definitely though. This is very definitely the blockbuster version of Doctor Who. So it's all action basically. There's all action and laughs rather than so. I'd say it is a trailer because it seems to contain plot elements. It's not a teaser. It is a trailer, but it's still.
But all I'm saying is it's very easy to make anything look good in a trailer because you basically put the best bits together. And so I'm not saying that that's going to be the case here. I'm just saying it leaves me skeptical. Yet again, I can't get excited until I actually see those episodes. That's all I'm kind of
every time I watch this trailer back, it gives me goosebumps. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Do you think it's possible?
I think that will be the response for any member of the public who comes across this between now and whenever we get the next trailer, which I would say would be around Easter.
But Dan, do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible that we are so old and we are so into the Doctor that we love that we could be blinded by new things that are happening in Doctor Who?
No,
I don't know. I don't think so.
JT, no.
No, I totally disagree. When this came back, when they brought this reboot Who version back, they were insistent this was incarnation number 9 and it was a continuation of the show. And from certain episodes at certain times, all I've seen is them pissing on my favorite show and taking it into certain angles and rewriting the lead character and recreating the lead character to be not even the same character it was between 63 and 89. So no, I don't think age or anything. I think it's because as fans we are invested in this show and we try and stand with it. Some people put themselves through the last 5 years, some others didn't, but we try and stand because we are fans of this show.
Even though I'm excited by this, I can't argue with that. That's I do think you're right. I think that's an objective response as well, JT.
But Dan, as a showrunner, right? You say for instance, your Russell T and BBC come and say, "Well, we want you to do Doctor Who,"
which they did.
You know, you have a choice whether to go, okay, right, I'll just follow the same line as the classic, or to follow the same line, but respect the same line, but also create something new as well to actually do something more with it. And I assume that Russell T did that instead.
Yes, he did. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, the BBC, I mean, when you get something like that, the BBC studios were going to take the thing off the air. So they would have said, look, we've had problems and these are what we need from it. This is what we need from it. And Russell's gone, well, this is what I want. And because he's so powerful, certain people have gone, oh, yes, we love that. Kiss, 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 arse, arse, arse.
Well, maybe they didn't know.
But what's happened now is he said himself it's not going to be the same. He's put a twist on it. He's moved on. But the problem we've got here with these industry professionals, one of the many problems we've got with industry professionals, is they're always looking to up the game, look good in their industry, make it a bit more, make it a bit more. And sometimes I feel that the actual real essence of Doctor Who has gone. The time traveler from Gallifrey in his TARDIS, having adventures with monsters every week.
Some of that could be. In all fairness, looking at what the question Ian asked, some of that could be a generational thing. Because if you're to ask if Charlotte was still here, I think she would absolutely say, no, that's the show I found in 2005.
I then say it's the same show. If you're going to take the actual template away and pull it out that much, and it's not about a time traveler having adventures with monsters every week, why call it Doctor Who?
Yeah,
I don't think they did that, though.
I just want to mention this message.
Charlotte, sorry, I was going to say, if you very quickly, if you were to ask Charlotte, she would say what she loves about the show, but the fact remains, what she loves about the show is something completely different about what I loved about the show, and so that show is now gone. Well, it's not gone; it exists on Blu-rays that I thoroughly enjoy, but it's gone from the current world. And so that's why I just simply don't feel as invested in anymore, because it isn't the show that I fell in love with anymore.
For me, I live in between you guys. I loved classic, and I also liked Moffat's era and Russell T's era. Russell T's era was far more crappier than the Moffat era, but I liked both eras.
See, the Russell T Davies era is my favourite. I
absolutely loved
so every
I
single episode.
I think Russell's era, they were more accessible to not just fandom if they wanted it, and I know a lot of people didn't, but mainly the public in the United Kingdom, whereas Stephen's version was very much more sci-fi heavy, elemented, and he was trying to do all these little twists and turns and what have you. Two totally different things.
To be completely honest,
what they do now.
I liked both. I like both versions. I like the classic, and I like Moffat's version and Russell T's version. There's some awful episodes of Russell T did and Moffat did, but generally, I had a ball watching the new
Exactly.
Who and
I would agree with that. I love them all, but some of them are awful.
They
only a couple. I would maintain only a couple didn't hit the mark. But generally speaking, it really does work for me.
I'd go as far as say there are more than a couple.
I am banning the expression member berries from this chat. This will be the last time I put any comment with the words member berries in. That's I'm half joking, Richard, but I'm so tired of that. It's a lazy comparison. If you please forgive me, but it says member berries make me. Let me just explain.
Sorry, go ahead.
Member berries make me nervous. Where are the new ideas? Not so bad for an anniversary, but not for the ongoing show. And that's the point, Richard.
I did honestly believe that Russell T did bring another dimension to Doctor Who, especially getting rid of Gallifrey, and he was the only one left from his world. I thought that was great stuff. I was invested when I heard that from the very even though I didn't like the very first episode. When he said that thing at the ending when she says, "Let's get a bag of chips. I haven't got any money." Remember, he says, "I'm the last one." That's when I got invested. I didn't like that episode because I thought it was cheap and silly, but that bit at the ending got me. I was like, okay, so he's the last one. Let's see what's going to happen. And I think Russell T did a great job molding the Doctor and making it something that is for that generation and for me personally. But
I don't think it was just for that generation. It gave a twist to all of us coming back to it.
Yeah, that's
it was a shock to say something's gone on while we've been away from him. Yes, he's been carrying. The character's been carrying on doing what he needs to do. He's had some almighty catastrophe in his life.
It was the building of mythology and lore and pathos and bringing something else, something for everybody in its gift. I'd hope that he would do something on that scale again, not literally, but something of that scale again. We're not. The 60th is not the time to do that. But I believe that when Shooty appears, that's the time to do that. We've got a comment here from Aidan McGear who says, you talk about how they need to win back fans and audiences, then seem to talk of this trailer like, who cares? Yeah, it all looks good. I'll wait until the episode if it's interesting. And I think he's saying that there's a contradiction there in your responses. I think that's to you, JT.
I don't think that's that's a contradiction at all. I mean, what we're giving here is our outlook, our opinion on what this is. In the United Kingdom, they have to bring back the general public. You can't do that until November. And the ratings for BBC One on Christmas Day were low. They were the second lowest Christmas Day in the BBC's history. People were not watching it, so the general public wouldn't necessarily have seen that. What I'm trying to say there is that I want to wait. I can't judge this new thing because of a 60-second trailer, and I'm not prepared to. I will wait till I've seen the full 3 hours, 10 minutes. That's what I will wait to see, and I will judge this reboot from there. And then again, I will go back to it. The advantage they've got over the eight episodes that are coming is that they have the ability to tell a story there. So I'm not going to judge this at all just because this thing for 60 seconds looks gorgeous and glossy, which it does. The production looked great on that 60 seconds. I'm waiting for the 3 hours and then I'll judge it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't bank on nostalgia all the time, though, says Shah. Mm-hmm. We have a whole Doctor that was Earth-based. It changes all the time. One of the things I love about the show. It's good to see you in the live chat there, Shah. Hope to have you back on the show.
Everybody in the live chat. Thanks very much for coming back, guys.
Mm-hmm. Nostalgia, fruits is allowed, says Jack Thursby. And,
very clever.
John Jordan says Russell T Davies' era was everywhere in the UK. It was a very happy time. It really was. And a great deal of that is, it's because my children were of the age where they discovered it. They were seduced by it. They were whisked along by it. And so half of my joy, so was I. You asked Charlotte earlier on, were you counting down to every Saturday? I was in my 30s and I was. Every time I heard that theme tune on Saturday at 7 o'clock, my heart started racing. Every trailer, it made me feel like an 8-year-old kid again.
Yeah.
And obviously, they absolutely have to capitalize on that. Things were, the show was running to the ground. It was cancelled. It was gone. It was done. But I do think that any anniversary, though, was always going to have David Tennant involved. And by the nature of an anniversary, this is not news to us. Doctor Who's had anniversaries. Anniversaries are about reveling in the past as well as making a statement for the here and now. and ideally pointing at a future for the show. And I'd like to think that's what we're going to get here. Obviously, that is just a minute's worth of the trailer. I hadn't forgotten. I've only watched it 3 times, and I could remember it. I watched it again just before the show, and it was like I felt exactly the same way. And I'm thrilled by this. Obviously, I can't wait to see. I agree with what you said earlier on, JT. Shooty still seems like quite a way into the future. And if I feel like that to the general public, saying that some guy, sometime from some show that they don't watch, that their kid mentions now and again, is going to be the Doctor eventually, I think most of the general public are going to guess.
I think there's going to be a business plan in place. I mean, we know Shooty's there now because he's recording. He's doing his 8 episodes for broadcast next March. I hear. We know that's the case, but at the moment there's no Doctor Who on. There's nothing on. The general public are not engaged. They're not watching anything. There's nothing. That's why
they'll obviously crank the publicity machine into absolute overdrive, so the general public will fully know. They'll be. I think.
I'm not saying that they're not going to. What I'm saying is the business plan will be in place, and they'll be building up to it. Come the end of the summer, I think we're going to be sick of the.
And all I'm saying is, I think the general public will be invested in Shooty, in that they will be prepared to give Shooty a go, because I think they will get it so drummed into them that they'll be ready for the new Shooty.
I think going back to Christmas Day at 7:00 is a necessity for a launch of a Doctor in this way, because this is even with the 3 episodes that Tennant and Tate are in, this is a massive reboot. This is another go at this legend.
It is. Yeah, it is. I can never remember this guy's name. Danny Hargreaves. He has said, he has used the term, this is the 2nd reboot of Doctor Who, and I don't know whether he's saying that's from Shooty onwards or from the 14th Doctor onwards.
I'd say from 14.
It does seem to be the case. Yeah. Just a little fact here before we go. David Tennant. He's just 4 years younger at the present than William Hartnell was when he first took the role in 1963. How extraordinary a fact! How extraordinary a fact that is. That it seems so strange, doesn't it? Obviously, we're all going to have our various thoughts about all of this, about what's to come in the future. And I know that you will too. But yeah, Doctor Who does return to our screens in November for those 3 60-minute specials, all written by Russell T Davies, starring David Tennant, Catherine Tate.
He's a good
Jacqueline
writer.
King, Bernard Cribbins, Yasmin Finney, whoever else is going to be in this. I suspect there's going to be some big surprises coming our way. And we'll be here covering it all on Type 40 and Type 40 Live. But that's it for us. We've reached the end papers, and we're shutting this book for now. More Type 40 Live Doctor Who next week, same time and space. Don't forget to check you're still subscribed to this channel. Please like this video if you haven't already. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell so you get all the notifications about what's going down next and when we're doing it. So it could be another live stream. Lots more coming on this new season of Type 40 Live. Could be a podcast like our interview with Colin Howard, or our big review of the time of the Power of the Doctor. Sorry, God, I'm always going to get those episode titles mixed up. No. A big review. Yeah, Ian's still having flashbacks to watching that.
Let it go.
So yeah, all those reviews, previews, geek outs, and deep dives there on the Type 40 Doctor Who podcast. You can find that all across major podcatchers, and as well as at type40.podbean.com. That's a dedicated home feed. So you can find all of that, including the Colin Howard interview and whatever else is coming up. All done for the love of Doctor Who, as it all fits together again. 60th anniversary. Yeah. Everybody. Yeah, well, yeah, they're assembling it. It's whether it stands up, whether it bears up to pressure and to fan opinion, the slings and arrows.
It's tougher for them this time round because of social media, isn't it? This time round, social media is more ferocious than ever. So it's going to be a tough one for them. And I wish them all the best in the world. I really do. Yeah, I really do. So
just one pretty picture to sign off with. We've got this image created by the fan artist Ben Wisher. And this is the handover there of the keys between the 14th and the 15th Doctor with the new old diamond logo.
Doesn't illustrate brilliantly why that costume is awful.
And also, he's taller as well.
Don't
just
listen
like
to him,
that.
Shorty.
Tenants.
Tennant's a tall bloke. Yeah, he's a tall guy. 6
Yeah,
foot,
I'm going
7.
It looks like Eddie Murphy.
Don't forget to check you're still subscribed or you'll miss further editions of Type 40 Live. Special thanks, as always, to Lee, Audred AudioVisual, for all the music for Type 40 Live that you hear throughout the show. And to JJ and the Hooligans from Avenue Who for all the puppetry. And thanks to you guys for watching and listening and commenting.
Thank you.
You can get in touch with us through our social media, Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who at the Diamond Anniversary. It's only just begun. I can't speak for them, obviously. Can I speak for myself? Even if you don't enjoy it, I promise you'll enjoy something about our coverage as it continues. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. More next time. We'll speak to you all again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Where is it? There it is.
iTunes.